Going to do tonight, if you haven't been to one of these before, is this is the brainchild of Mr. Howard Lyon over there. Wave to the crowd, Howard. And he likes to inflict pain and punishment upon his fellow illustrators. And what he has done this time is he came to my live stream with a bunch of canvases, and he said, Brandon, I'm going to give you the name of a magic card, and you're going to pretend you've never seen that magic card, and you are going to illustrate it. And you're going to do your best, and then we are going to make real illustrators have to try to turn that into something pretty. This is a testament to their talents, because you can see how bad my chicken scratches are. So what we're going to do is they are going to paint them live in front of you, and then these are going to go up on the Lightweaver website for auction for the next 2 weeks. The auction will end at the live stream. The end of the live stream I'll do on my birthday on the 19th. So that's how you can get these. And so you can watch and see how they go. You can watch them get painted. And I'm sure they'll be doing lots of fun things every year they do when we have this. So I just wanted to thank you all for coming to Nexus. I want to thank you for your support and also for the good environment you make here. Like, everyone comes and tells me, wow, everyone's so good and nice. You are so good and nice. Thank you. I love you too, random citizen. So I am going to hand this off to my sister Jane and to my wife Emily, and I'm actually going to go crash at the hotel until they're done. So this is the end for me, though they have to stick around for a few more hours. So final thank you to you. Thank you so much. I will see you on my live stream on the 19th and at Nexus next year maybe. Take care.
Hello. Hey, so this is kind of a complex event, so I thought it would be helpful if we explain to you guys and those watching and those behind us and those backstage how we envision this working. So Jane and I are going to sit in these lovely chairs over here, and then we will have some representatives from our partner charities come up, and we will have a chance to interview them and talk about their story and why they started their organization, and hopefully share some impact stories from people that they've worked with. While we're doing that, the artists will be working on their pieces. And after each interview, then we'll turn the time over to Isaac, who is our official Dragonsteel MC. And he will go around and show you what the artists have been working on, and he has a microphone so that he can ask them questions. It's always kind of interesting to see a work as it happens. It's pretty cool. And not all artists are willing to do that on camera. So give a round of applause for our very brave artists. And we'll proceed to go back and forth like that. So hopefully it will be entertaining and also very lucrative for the charities. I'll give that to you. And Jane and I will come over here and we'll get started.
To see you. Passing this to you guys. That's for you.
Okay, so our first partner that we have here is Yape Bolivia, which is a charity near and dear to my heart. I'm going to let them kind of explain who they are, and then we have a couple questions for them. So,
thanks for having us tonight. We are a nonprofit organization that is working to improve education and health care for women and children living in impoverished conditions in Bolivia.
Bolivia is important to me because I served there as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in 1990, what was it, 96? 96. So, and both of these ladies also served there as missionaries. There are a couple of people from our mission who saw the needs that happen in that country and have been doing something about it for many years now.
Almost 10.
Yeah. And we were excited. At the Lightweaver Foundation, we try to do one international cause, one local cause, and one hands-on cause, I call it, where our people who are helping us, often my employees, sometimes my children, get a chance to do something hands-on and actually help rather than just giving money. So it's not always easy to find international organizations, especially, that you can know that all of the money you donate is going to get to the people who need it. So I was very excited. I'm like, I know these people personally. I know what we donate is going to get in the hands of people who need it. So we're very excited to be working with them. And I have a couple questions. What kind of impact does it look like on the ground when you do things with Yapai Bolivia?
So we right now are working to provide scholarships for young adults that have been impacted by domestic violence. And we are providing a way for these students to get an education. And these students are going into fields where they are going to be able to give back to other children that have also been impacted by domestic violence situations. And another facet of our organization is we're working to provide children's programs in several cities. We provide lunches, tutoring, and some housing for children that are also victims of domestic violence.
Wow. So do your efforts go toward a certain population, or just kind of whoever you see in need at the time? Or
we are working with local Bolivian leaders and community leaders that provide the projects for us, and then we just help support financially those projects.
That's one of the things I found with international charities that's very impactful, is when people work directly with the people living in that country. If the charity partners come in and do everything, then they don't often know what's really needed. And someone who lives there and is there daily with people is much better set out to take the donations and put them exactly where they need to go. So I think that's really wise of you guys. So Dragonsteel fans love a character who pushes through impossible odds. Do you have any real life stories that feel like that?
We do. Carrie's gonna share one.
Okay, I have a couple of stories that are some of my favorites. I was privileged to travel to Bolivia with Yapai earlier this year. And in June, I met this gal that you can maybe be able to see on screen.
Yep, she's on there.
Oh, good. This is Camilla. Camilla is the oldest of 5 children, and due to domestic violence in her family, her mother passed away, and she was left as the caretaker for 4 younger siblings, which you can imagine how devastating that would be as a young person. But she found the partners that we work with and is now receiving a scholarship through Yapai's help, and it's been exciting to watch the progress and kind of the spark come back into life for her and for her siblings. She's really sacrificing a lot. She spends time driving an hour into her university classes. She comes back as quickly as she can to pick up her younger brothers who spend their day at an orphanage that we help support there. And she is pursuing a legal degree.
That's something that's amazing for women.
Great. Can I tell you about one other one?
Absolutely.
Okay. Another favorite of mine is Nurse Romy. Nurse Romy works in a hospital in Potosí, Bolivia, which is one of the highest cities in the world. It's about 14,000 feet elevation, if I'm not wrong on that.
Right.
And she came to Potosí desiring to share scripture with the people there. But she noticed pretty quickly people coming in that had traveled long distances to bring very sick children to hospitals, and that they had very few resources and were just maxed and spent. And she said, these people don't need the word of God in this moment as much as they need to see the hand of God. So for the past almost 20 years, she has helped these individuals coming in receive medications, medical supplies, infant formula, and things that are very basic needs for them. So Bolivia supports her by providing resources so she can help these people that are in such severe needs.
That's amazing. So I see that Yape is a zero overhead nonprofit, which I think is amazing. It's not an easy thing to do because there are costs associated with a nonprofit. So how does Yape make sure that donations actually reach the people who need it?
This is one of the things that Yape is most proud of. Most of us are volunteers. We have one member of our staff that is paid through a grant, specially intended for that purpose, but we cover the overhead. We cover our own travel costs when we travel. We handle a lot of the day-to-day expenses and keep costs at a minimum because we know how much impact the funding can have when it really does reach the people, and for that reason, we keep costs at a minimum.
That's fantastic. I remember being in Bolivia, and there was a market that sold secondhand clothes. Do you remember that? And I remember going there and seeing all of these secondhand clothes, many of them that seemed like they must be from the US. And I thought, I wonder how many people donated these clothes thinking they would be going as a charitable donation and didn't realize that somebody's selling them and making a big profit. Who knows? But corruption is a problem in a lot of places, and Bolivia is one of those, unfortunately. And so you can't always be sure that if you donate to a nonprofit, it actually makes it to the people who need it. And I really, really appreciate that you guys are so transparent and so willing to give to people who need it. I think because you've been there and you know, it makes an impact, and it makes a little bit of a bright spot in our world. So just to finish up, what would you want everyone watching to walk away knowing about Yapai?
Oh, thank you so much for that question. We just want you to know that hope is real. Hope is not a theory, but it's something that we can all contribute to and be a part of. We live in a pretty privileged society, and each of us have something to give. Whether you share our social media posts or talk to a friend, mention us, donate yourself, a little bit can go a long way when it's put in the right hand. We have really reached out to build relationships with partners that we trust, that are very transparent with us. We focus a lot on relationships and make sure that those funds are used to the best they can be.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, you guys. And we are going to turn our time over to Isaac. He's going to be talking with Howard first, who's kind of the one that got this all started and started this live stream, and pulled all these other artists in with us to raise money for charity. So we'll kick it over to you, Isaac.
All right. Thank you. How you doing, Howard?
Good. You look so sharp.
Oh, thanks.
I love the red shoes. I love the blazer. You're looking awesome.
I got the idea for the blazer from you because you have some nice jackets.
Thanks.
We should go shopping together.
Sounds good.
Okay, when? No. Oh, Howard, you were instrumental in getting this particular part of the charity organized, the idea behind it, brainstorming with Jane and others. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that came about?
Yeah, it has a bit of a history to it. I would say about 10 years ago, Steve Argyle and I started doing painting demonstrations at Magic the Gathering events. And then as Brandon started doing kind of the book launches and then conventions and Nexus, we thought it would be fun to continue it at the Nexus. And so I think Steve and I have done it 6 times, and then Kari joined us a few years back. And then we had the idea, well, maybe we could raise some money for Lightweaver with this. And so we started working with Jane. And it's with those resources, that kind of effort behind it, we've been able to grow it from like Steve and I and one of the available rooms to here with all these amazing people here watching.
Yeah, it is amazing how much it has grown.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah, very cool.
This is really awesome. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Yes.
All right. Well, can you tell us about what you're painting today?
So on the live stream, I was dressed as Bob Dolph, the Middle Value Gray. And it was a mix of Bob Ross and Gandalf. And so when it came time to do my drawing, Brandon drew me as Gandalf or Bob Dolph in, you know, the tomb where he's got his wand and book. And so it's kind of a Lord of the Rings mix-up. I don't know where my magic card went and all of that, but we ended up with this scene, and I'm excited to paint it.
Do you know what the spell was?
I don't remember. I had 3 suggestions, and we went off the rails pretty quick.
Okay. Well, we'll have to see, you know, exactly how this mechanic is going to work, right?
We'll see where we end up.
What colors are Bob Dolph, do you think?
Gray, so maybe a mix of several different colors. So maybe we get a little blue, red, and white.
Okay,
Yeah.
there we go.
All right.
We also have to, have to talk about something that we talked about last year. How was the research going into your cheese oil paint line?
Yeah, so far I've just consumed a lot of cheese, and I haven't really moved into the development phase of it, just mostly research.
So you're just an amateur paint maker right now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but a master artist.
All right, I'll take it.
Maybe we'll work on it this year. So
Sounds
I've got
good.
some ideas.
I love it.
Scratch and sniff cheese.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know. Okay, they asked me about that back there. I completely forgot about the cheese paint, so maybe we should completely forget about it again.
For a year.
For a year.
Yeah.
All right, so we actually have a time-lapse video of the art that you did from last year that we're going to show on the screen here.
Yeah. Brandon drew me as a mall Santa Hoyd for some reason, but I'm here for it.
So tell us a little bit more about the painting process you went through for Mall Santa Hoyd.
A lot of contemplation and introspection, to try and take on that role. But really, when I start, I look for the big dark shapes and try and put those in, and then work in the light shapes, and then add a bunch of color and start refining the form from there. So that's the very quick, kind of summary of what I'll do.
And is that what you're doing here too?
I thought I would, but I'm kind of off to a weird start, so we'll see where I go. I just started throwing color in, but I think once I get to Bob Dolph, then I'll be able to refine it a little bit more.
So there's a giant space above the treasure chest. What are you thinking you might put there?
I started to put some warm paint in there, but maybe I'll see if I can put a troll or orc back in there, kind of fill in the space a little bit.
Or a painting of Mall Hoyd Santa?
Or Mall Hoyd Santa, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or a giant block of cheese.
Oh, there you go.
I think that would work.
Is there anything else that you want to tell us about, the future of this event? Anything that you've thought of or that you can say?
We've got some ideas for next year that I'm excited to talk about with Lightweaver, with Jane, and I think there's some fun possibilities ahead of things that we can do to have a good time, do some demonstrating of what we do as artists, even though this isn't exactly what we do as artists, but kind of give some insights to that and have fun and raise money at the same time. So I think it has a fun future ahead. I know I've had a lot of people, and this means a lot. I've had a lot of people come up and say, "Oh, I've been to the last 4 of these. I've been to the last 5 of these. When is it this year?" And so it's turned into a really fun tradition. I really love it.
It is great. Can you tell us a little bit about, because there might be people here who don't know, what happens with these paintings after the event?
Yeah. So after we finish these up, we'll give them to Lightweaver. They will take them, we'll get them photographed, and then they will go online for an auction. And so it's the opportunity for you to primarily donate to a really good charity. And the secondary benefit is you get a little piece of history that Brandon drew on. You know, it's a drawing by Brandon, and then it's a painting by one of us, and we've all kind of been either part of the Magic the Gathering world or the Cosmere world in some way.
Before we wrap this interview up, is there anything that you want to talk about like what you are working on right now, or future projects you're excited about?
Yeah, there's an up-and-coming author that wrote a book called The Dog and the Dragon that I'm excited to be illustrating. I think he's going to be really big, and yeah, I'm thrilled to be working on it. Anytime Isaac calls and says, hey, we've got a project for you, that's a great day, and so I'm excited to be working on it. And Anna Early is who I've been working with primarily on that, and she's amazing.
She's
just
great.
Really wonderful to work with. Yeah, I'm thrilled to be working on that project. So that's pretty much, as soon as I get home and this is packed up, I'll be on that for the next 5 months, getting it wrapped up. 4 months, getting it wrapped up.
Well, thank you, Howard, and thank you for working on that with us, but also for all of your work in setting this up with Lightweaver.
Absolutely.
And I will turn the time back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Isaac and Howard. And I'm very curious how, Howard, I think you have a self-portrait going on, I believe, over there. So I'm curious how every year Brandon gives him, he has to have him paint himself every year. So Howard takes on that challenge. So our next charity partner is actually our first charity partner that we've ever worked with. If you've known the Lightweaver Foundation and been following us since the beginning, you know that we've been partnering with Primary Children's Hospital. And this all started because we wanted to get involved with the Festival of Trees. And I would go set up trees there. Back in the day, I think we started
Do you remember, Jane? It started because we wanted a Christmas tree for our office, which at the time was a house, and you and I went to the Festival of Trees, and we couldn't find one that we really liked. And we were like, we want a tree that looks like such and such, and Jane's like, I could do that. And so we started, then ended up donating trees to the Festival of Trees for the next several years.
And I think I posted a picture, and I think some of our volunteers, fans were like, why don't you make it Brandon themed? So one year I got like the cricket out, and I put the Cosmere symbol, and I kind of meshed it in, and it became a thing. People were asking, where do I get these ornaments? So we started fundraising ornaments, and then we actually started to do, we did a partnership with Primary Children's where Lightweavers funded the school zone at the new Larry H. Miller campus in Lehigh. So if you've been to Lightweaver Foundation, it's kind of fun to know that the ornaments started because of Primary Children's. And so we're really excited to have you here today because we haven't had it, we've always talked about Primary Children's, but we actually don't have as much footage with you guys, and we're excited to do a little bit more. So I would love to, we have Ryan and Isabel here, and I would love for them to both kind of introduce themselves and let us know what their role is within Primary Children's, and then we'll be asking them a couple other questions.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for this opportunity to be here and truly using this platform to further your philanthropy. How truly incredible of you guys, and thank you for supporting Primary Children's. Emily, Jane, Brandon, the whole Lightweaver Foundation. You have supported areas above and beyond our medical care. I'm Ryan Baldwin. I work for the foundation at Primary Children's, and this is what Lightweaver Foundation has done. They have supported our school zone. This is an area that we gave away 10,000 books last year to children to take home. Yeah, truly incredible. We have a staff of full-time teachers that tutor kids that are here short-term and long-term, and we accommodate kids getting back into the classroom. This is fully funded by philanthropy, what the Lightweaver Foundation is supporting. We're just incredibly grateful and blessed that you guys have supported this area. But enough from me, because Isabel is here, as is her family. Isabel is an incredible human being and has lived this school zone experience.
So tell them your name.
My name is Isabel George. I am a patient at Primary Children's Hospital. I've been a patient there my whole life, And I actually now have the opportunity to not only be a patient, which I still am, but I'm also a volunteer at the school zone. I get to give back from what I was given, which is probably my favorite thing in the whole world.
So, Isabel, I've been told by many people that you have a pretty incredible story. Do you mind sharing that with us tonight?
Yes, so let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was this little girl, and she was in the hospital quite a lot. Now, it's not like fairy tales of old where the princess was kidnapped and kept there. No, she went there willingly, and she stayed there for lengthy amounts of time, but she still longed for an escape. She wanted out. Well, that story is a true story, and I am that girl. I found that escape through books. Books were my way out when everything got scary and everything got really hard, because I have been a patient at Primary Children's my whole life. I have a rare and undiagnosed genetic condition. No one knows what's wrong with me, and no one sees a point in the future where we will know what's wrong. And so it can be very terrifying being stuck inside the hospital, not knowing what's going on, and no one knowing what's going on. So I have found my escape, and I have found my voice through books, because those are a way to escape when the walls are pressing in on you. You can suddenly go and you are a fighter in a different universe, or you are a princess, and it's just so wonderful that you can be anything that you want through books.
That's amazing. And one of our first things that we ever did as a charitable foundation was do some things that we did a library at the Road Home. And you said, Brandon's a beautiful speaker. We all know that, right? Brandon's fantastic. You said exactly words that Brandon said about being transported and going to a different world, and that's always resonated with me. So I love that that's exactly what you've found through books. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about Primary Children's Hospital?
I think the main thing for me about Primary Children's Hospital is, yes, it is a place of healing, but it can also be a place of fear. And having those places where you can go to escape, the school zone has always been one of those places for me when everything's getting really hard. Everyone keeps asking questions. How are you doing? Rate your pain on a scale of 1 to 10. They just keep asking questions, and it can be really, really overwhelming. So getting to go to a place where you're just surrounded by words. You're surrounded by books. There are no questions. There's no, how are you feeling? It's, what book do you like? What world would you like to escape into? And just having those places of peace is so incredible. And I just love being able to go somewhere and be myself without being asked why I am what I am.
That's amazing. Thank you. So I might put Emily a little bit on the spot here. I think you had some questions that you maybe wanted to ask Emily.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, go ahead. I would love for you to be able to ask her those questions.
My own question, as a patient at Primary Children's, I'm very curious what you would say to a patient going through a tough time at Primary Children's.
Oh, wow. I would want to hug them and tell them, you're not alone. You can do this, and hope that they find something like you did that will help them deal with the difficulties, whether it's books or movies or friends or philanthropy, that they find something that will support them and help them through their journey.
And then I had one more question for you, and that is, why did you decide to include charitable work and charitable partners in this amazing event that has so many fans and so many awesome people here?
Well, we kind of were forced to by the fans themselves. Lightweaver Foundation is a private foundation, and in most cases, private foundations, the owners of the foundation, or I guess you can't really own a foundation, the people in charge of the foundation give grants using their own funds. But we had so many of Brandon's readers who wanted to be part of what we were doing. And we started a little bit with kind of donating items to other conventions, auctions for charity, and then we were like, we can do that at ours. And it kind of grew, and people were so excited. We have a lot of volunteers who help us do the different things at Dragonsteel that we do with the foundation. And it's been really rewarding to see how I have my little bit, that when I look at situations like Isabel's and other children at primary children's, it seems like so little to deal with such a big problem. But if I have my little bit and then you bring your little bit and we all put it all together, we start making a difference. And that is really satisfying. And so the more people do it, the more they want to do it. And it's been a lot of fun to have programming at Dragonsteel that benefits these organizations and ways for fans to contribute to these wonderful causes that we've found. So,
Well, thank you so much once again for everything.
Thank you.
my pleasure.
So just in closing for you guys, we're talking about the little things. Is there anything that you guys can share about how fans can get involved with? I know some people, probably a lot of people visit your booth, but I think since we're here, how can somebody get involved with Primary Children's?
One way for me is I'm not rich. I don't have money. I'm a broke high school student who can barely keep a job because I'm super busy. So donating your time, donating what you have is really huge. Donating your talents is what I personally do, but $5 is a book in a kid's hands. It's a book, it's a smile, it's a story, and it's a way to give back when we have been given so much.
That's great. Well, thank you so much, you guys. I know that it's a busy time of year, and we appreciate you guys taking the time on this is our late night programming almost, to come spend some time with Emily and I. And so thank you.
Thank you.
And we will turn the time over to Isaac for our next artist interview. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you. We're going to come over here and talk to Kari Christensen. How you doing, Kari?
I'm doing all right.
Good. It's good to see you.
It's fun to do some painting.
Yeah. I've got some questions for you that we're going to go over, and I'm excited to talk about what you're doing right now in your life. You've made some kind of interesting changes as far as adding some things to your career. But first off, let's get into your childhood. So, tell me about living in Norway and kind of the things that inspired you there as a kid.
So Norway is a very Norway's a very beautiful country. Should I go ahead and hold that?
I can hold it for you.
Oh,
yep.
Thank you. Yeah, you might get paint on the mic if I
Yeah.
hold it. But there's a wonderful Scandinavian folklore around trolls and witches. There's a very mountainous country, so there's lots of interesting rocks. And so growing up, I was born in the States, but moved to Norway when I was 3, and so I kind of grew up with thinking about trolls and that folklore, and that definitely influenced what I was drawing as a kid, and just always loved monsters, I think, from that.
That's interesting. Were there any particular folk tales or stories that you heard growing up there that struck you?
Bunch of weird ones. One thing is trolls turn to stone if they see the sun, so they come out at night, and then if they get caught, they turn into an amazing mountain or boulder. But I especially liked ones. There's one about a 3-headed troll that I think was very itchy. Had a lot of hair and things growing in on its head, so it would go around capturing maidens to scratch its head. So very strange stuff. There's also there's a story called The Terrible Troll Bird, about just a large bird that the trolls, trolls can be very large, so we're talking not Godzilla size, but bigger than a house size, so it goes around tramping on the houses in a village. So they get out, they construct a giant musket and shoot it, and then there's feathers that rain down on the town, and so they have down pillows and chicken for the whole winter. So I thought that was fascinating. And then the trolls were angry at the town for killing the bird, so they came to, take revenge on the town. But the sun came up and saved the town. So then the kids had all these giant boulders to climb on. And there was in the book that I read as a kid, there's illustrations of these kids like climbing on a troll head.
Oh.
I think I've just found that very fascinating.
Oh, that's really cool. I can see that now, like because you love to draw monsters and creepy things, which I love. So you also had a professor in college that was a little bit skeptical about your career. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So in college, so I started in the 90s, and we didn't have things like Harry Potter hadn't really exploded yet and brought like kind of fantasy and dark fantasy, the mainstream. And one of my illustration teachers told me to never draw skulls or dragons because I would never make money doing it.
Never draw skulls? That's like
never.
My favorite thing.
Yes, yeah, and I thought about it for about 5 minutes and then decided I shouldn't take that advice, and I'm glad I didn't.
It's gotten you where you are. That's all. Did you stay in touch with this professor?
I did not.
It's like writing notes and wrapping them around rocks. No.
Definitely. Things have definitely changed since the 90s as far as like this genre being in the mainstream.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, can you tell us a little bit about what you're working on today?
So Brandon has decided to give me the giant monster dining with one of his characters' theme again. And I have never painted pizza before. So this is, I think I asked for an Eldorazi from Magic the Gathering. And it kind of morphed into a Cthulhu Eldorazi that likes pizza and has a tentacle mouth. And down next to this giant eldritch horror is Yasna enjoying a slice of pizza as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a whole theme. I wonder if we're going to have like a theme of the Colin family dining with strange monsters.
Yes, I mean I like giant monsters, so I as long as I can keep learning how to do different foods, I think I can keep up maybe.
What do you think will be the next food?
Ooh, I do like tacos.
Tacos? Maybe that'll be tacos.
I have painted tacos before.
Okay. Well, maybe we can give Brandon that idea.
Oh, yeah. Inception it.
Yeah. Dalinar and tacos, and keep in mind the monster. Maybe we can figure out Bigfoot. I don't know.
That sounds good.
So you are doing some teaching these days.
Yeah, I'm teaching at Savannah College of Art and Design, and teaching in the illustration department, teaching world building and character design, and also a fun class called Visualizing the Macabre and Divine.
So sounds right up your alley.
Get to focus on the spooky stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. I really love that. What else are you doing these days, like that you can talk about? Because a lot of times you're under NDA, but what can you talk about?
So in the summer, I started working on a film and didn't have much time. So they're shooting the film in January, and I had to finish some 3D modeling for that right before Dragon Steel. So that was a little bit stressful but fun. So I'm excited to see what happens with that. I don't know. I still for the first series from the Cosmic Era I read as Mistborn. I've always wanted to paint an Inquisitor, so I'm hoping this year I'll finally, this is like over 10 years ago, so I'm hoping this year I'll finally get time to do that Inquisitor.
Have you had a chance to poke your head in the ball?
No, I hear it's amazing.
You should go take a look later and look at the Inquisitors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you got to go see them.
Oh, okay.
We designed the Ben and I working together designed the Inquisitor tattoos this year.
So cool.
And hey, we should chat offline. I think you'll like them. But Kari and I we both love hemalurgy.
Yes. A little bit creepy. We don't practice it.
We don't.
Personally, but the idea is interesting.
We're like hemalurgy goths. Well, is there anything else you'd like to say before we let you get back to painting your amazing painting?
Wish me luck on this cheesy pizza.
Okay. Good luck. Break a leg on the cheesy pizza.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, back to you guys.
Okay. Our next partner is Nerd HQ. How many of you have heard of them before? Hopefully now you have, because you've seen them in Donchard Harbor. We have Eric Artel here to talk to us, and I'm going to turn a little time to him to explain a little bit about what is Nerd HQ and what do you do.
Thank you. Who here is a nerd, by the way? Anybody? Yes? What? Okay, good. I don't see anyone not raising their hand. Nerd HQ, Nerds for Mental Health, we like to say. We were founded by actor Zachary Levi. Some of you may know him from Chuck or Shazam or the voice of Flynn Rider, a Disney prince. He went through a very, very severe mental health journey, depression and anxiety, and therapy is one of the things that saved his life. And so he founded Nerd HQ as a nonprofit with the main mission to provide therapy for people who cannot afford it. Mm-hmm. Therapy is expensive. I think many of us in this room know how expensive mental health services are and how expensive therapy is. And so the mission of Nerd HQ, the main mission is to help provide access to free therapy for people who can't afford it. And that is what we are doing.
Through a lot of different, pretty much anything you can think of to raise money, you guys are doing, which is kind of fun.
Absolutely. We have on our website, we have fun auctions there with items that celebrities have or have received that they've donated to us and they've signed it, and those items are on the website. We go to conventions. We have some wonderful nerd communities. In fact, if you go to our website, nerdhq.org, we're slowly building out some wonderful nerd communities there because we're all nerdy about something. Right? I mean, obviously, many of us here are nerdy about Dragonsteel and the Cosmere and Brandon Sanderson, but people are nerdy about baking. People are nerdy about football. People are nerdy about fitness. And so we are building out these pages where people can feel like they have a home, where they can see someone that is their hero, whether it's someone who's a gardening hero or a firefighter, Star Wars fan. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about other IPs here or not.
Absolutely, we're all kinds of nerds
I think
here.
I saw like a bridge.
But if they're a fan of somebody or something, and they can see one of their heroes, and their hero is talking to them, saying, "Mental health is important. Stay on this earth. Stay alive. If you need help, you can get it. If you cannot afford it." Mm-hmm. And that is a very powerful and impactful thing.
Yeah, I can go ahead. Let's
clap for that. That's great.
When someone is feeling depressed, then that's one of the hardest things to do is to ask for help. And I love the idea that someone who is influential to them might be able to get to them in a way that their friends and family couldn't, and to let them know, you're okay, here are some resources, here are some things to try.
Absolutely. So we partnered with a company called Timely Care. And they have a network of mental health services. And so when someone comes to nerdhq.org, or when they go through the Next Step coin that was announced a couple of days ago, but they can go and they register with Timely Care through us, and they will have access to immediate services, self-help services, community boards, a crisis hotline number that they can call, and then they can also schedule sessions with licensed therapists.
Yeah, and this is really important because you want to make sure that the help you're offering is researched and you're not doing further harm. This is one of the reasons we're partnering with Nerd HQ for the Next Step coin, and through Nerd HQ with Timely Care. We tried to find people that know what they're doing and that are accredited and set up for these kind of things. When Brandon wrote his letter, he was worried. He's like, if I write this letter and I give it, am I going to do more harm? I want to say something to people who are in this crisis and having these difficulties that will help them and not hurt them. And so he specifically asked some mental health professionals to look over his letter and make sure that what he was telling people was the right thing to say and something that would help them and not hurt them further. So that's something that's been really good that Lightweaver has been good at, is we can find awesome partners that are doing good things and direct you guys to them. So part of the reason for this live stream is that you can know where we're donating, but also that you can donate directly to these causes if one of them speaks to you. And that's a cool thing that we've been able to do, is kind of shine a light on some of these organizations that otherwise might not be very well known. Now, NerdHQ has a very nice advantage over some of these others that they have Zachary Levi, who started this and is advocating for it. But it doesn't hurt to add more and more people to shine a light on what good people are doing. So
Absolutely not. And we've been so blessed to have other celebrities, influencers, because mental health is affecting all verticals of life and all communities. And they're helping amplify the message. And we're so grateful for that and grateful to be able to be helping. I think you can see on the slide there, we're helping over 300 people right now receive therapy and mental health services for free on the nonprofit's dime. And we've heard some wonderful stories from them already.
I think that deserves a round of applause right there.
Amazing.
Eric, do you have a story you can share with us?
Yes, absolutely.
Good.
We'd love to share a story. I'll just give some names and their phone numbers and addresses of people who've received. No, here's the difficulty is, and I think this is also important for anyone who's here or anyone who's watching. If you do go sign up for services, we do not have your information. If you go through the next step coin, Dragonsteel does not have your information. There are HIPAA laws involved, and so we actually cannot reach out to people who have received these services. But we do hear from some people who have. So I do have a couple of stories. I'll share a couple of quick stories. Somebody who's involved with NerdHQ ran into someone that they knew, and I'll just read it. She pulled me aside this morning to thank me for introducing her to NerdHQ. This affects me, so I'll get through it. She's been struggling with her mental health and not knowing what to do because therapy was so expensive. She had her first therapy session last week through us, through NerdHQ, and it has changed her life. And that's what it's all about. And then just one other one I'll share, that we received a message from this person saying, I've never paid attention to my own well-being. In fact, a lot of us can probably put ourselves in this person's situation. I've never paid attention to my own well-being. And have previously made my wife and my family the priority, and as long as they were good, I was too. That's gone well until new stresses came along, like first day of school, new routines, schedules, added financial obstacles, just the overwhelming responsibility of maintaining our livestock. About a month ago, I got on the NerdHQ website and signed up because I could tell something was off, but it's been difficult to discuss since I've never had to do that before. With no support system in place and just our household, it's been tough. I had my first call with a counselor today. I found through NerdHQ, and it is exactly what I needed. I was given resources for self-help and ways to cope with anxiety and stresses that I've never considered before. And that's just a couple of stories of the stories of hundreds of people who have received these services. And again, I don't want to sound trite, but that is what it's all about, is that we are helping lives, we are changing lives, and also saving lives. That you are, everyone here. It's not us, it's not me, I'm not the therapist, I'm not licensed therapist, but it's those licensed therapists who are helping everyone, and you are helping them by donating not just your donations, but also your time and helping and volunteering to help others receive these services.
Thank you.
Amazing, thank you.
Now, if you've been down to Don Shard Harbor on the exhibitor floor and been to NerdHQ's booth, you'll notice they are next to the dunk tank.
Oh, yes.
I'm happy you brought this up because, I'm just happy that you're going into this because.
We had a dunk tank. Who here went to the dunk tank? Anyone here? Yes?
Thank you.
Yes. Who here dunked me? Anyone here?
No, don't
Yeah,
be
that's right.
scared
We've got
to
a couple of people
raise
who
your
dunked
hand.
me.
We won't let them go get you.
Can I talk about the dunk tank? The
Yes,
dunk tank was
please do.
so fun. So I don't want to take up too much time, but I know that
Got some time.
Hoyd, who comes, this was a brainchild of Brandon's and Hoyd's to have a dunk tank to raise money for charity. And so we had a dunk tank all these last 3 days, and we had incredible people coming and volunteering. I hesitate to name some because I know I'll miss others, but Bryce O'Connor and Dan Wells and so many others who came to be dunked. All for charity, and people were donating to, it's like a carny game. We were calling it the Cosmere Carney Charity Challenge because it was so fun. It was like a carnival game to dunk people for mental health, and just so rewarding to dunk someone, which she did to me. right over here.
I did. I paid for my nephew to dunk him with a guaranteed dunk.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
He loved it. He loved it, by the way.
Fantastic. So did I. I loved getting wet in the water. It was a little cold. But it was just so fun to do, and so grateful to be able to be here and to be doing that. And we had so many wonderful people who were here come up to the booth, and even if you're just donating a little bit, I mean, if everyone here in the audience were to donate $5 or $10, we could provide 100 sessions of therapy to people. And it's just something that is so powerful, and it was so powerful to be able to do that in the alley.
Well, and you guys were such good sports to kind of run that, and Eric got dunked, and since their booth was next to it, we kind of said, here you go, guys, take care of this. And it was fun to watch people's reactions to this. Any other interesting things you've had to do for charity, Eric?
Other than getting dunked in a big gallon of cold water? No, but, I don't know. That's a really good question. What have I done interesting for charity? I certainly have done some interesting things. But this one is one of the top things.
Glad to hear it.
So this has been one of the most memorable things, is this Dragonsteel Nexus convention of 2025. I'll never forget it.
And we're happy that you were able to jump on board and come in, especially with our crazy ideas. And that's what I love about Eric and Nerd HQ. They were just like, we're in. And it was really fun to have you guys down there by the dunk tank and just experiencing Nexus with us.
Well, thank you. And thanks to all of you for being here. And please take care of your own mental health.
Yeah.
And then help others take care of their mental health.
Thank you
so
guys.
much, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. And we will, looks like Isaac's ready to interview our next artist.
All right, who's here is excited for that mental health coin? I love what's going on with that and what's going on with Nerd HQ, so thank you. Well, we're here with Esther Kandari. How you doing?
Good.
So I'm getting word that they're going to let you guys hold the microphones if you want. I can also hold it for you while you're painting. You just can't use it as a brush. So do you have a preference?
If you want to hold it.
Okay, happy to do that. All right. Well, Esther, illustrating Isles of the Emberdark was your first big foray into fantasy illustration. So what's next for you?
Oh, catching up on sleep. Oh, this last year and a half has been really intense. Between doing this, I was doing some other big private commissions, and then I started an art gallery. So it's been 80-hour work weeks most weeks. So I'm looking forward to a little better work-life balance and some, maintenance of that mental health we were talking about.
Can you tell us a little bit about your gallery?
Yeah, so it's called the Compass Gallery in Provo, and we focus on allegorical and expansive spiritual art, really just looking at storytelling and how that affects the human spirit, however you approach that. We actually do a big fantasy show every summer, so Howard and I did one this last year, and it was amazing. The Sandersons kindly allowed us to borrow some of their iconic pieces, including Michael Whalen's cover for The Way of Kings. That was really stressful for me, having stewardship of that for a month. I spent a lot of hours just sitting and staring at it and telling people if they sneezed on it, they'd be found in a back alley. But it's just so fun having a space where people can come and engage with the work in ways that isn't always available to people, and to see processes of artists. We like to do workshops and things and stuff there as well, and to see what's happening in their local community. I don't think people realize how really saturated Utah is with world-class artists. You look at who's on the stage, and 80% of us live here. And, you look at the work that all of these artists are doing, and it's things that are recognized all over the world.
And with the gallery this year, you also hosted a Lightweaver event.
We did.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so we did a fundraiser in conjunction with the fantasy show where we brought in models. We had Cliff Weitzman, who played Kaladin last year at the World Hopper Ball. Samantha Carrasco, who played Shalon, and she dressed up as Vale, so I had all these cosplayers come in, and we painted them live over the course of 3 hours. And so those pieces are for sale right now as part of the Lightweaver auction as well.
Yeah, and those turned out really great.
Yeah.
They're fun. Go ahead.
I would say we're doing it again, so if any of you want to volunteer to cosplay, come talk to me. We're doing it in June.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think there are also some other items up on that the auction as well for Lightweaver. They can let us know if it's still current or not. But more than just the pieces that were painted during the gallery event.
Totally.
Let's also ask, are you going to be planning on making any more Sixth of the Dusk art?
Yes, there were so many things we didn't get to dive into with the book. It's such a rich and textural story. And I loved the elements of world building that we got to just dip our toes into. So I'm hoping to expand more of that. Some of the scenes that kind of had to get left on the cutting table for various reasons, revisiting those. So next year, I should have a new set of images for sure.
Oh, that's super exciting. Yeah, who's excited for that? So I have another question. What's next for you?
What's next? I don't know. I've really loved being in the fantasy space. It's been such a really warm welcome. It's a good challenge for me compared to what I've been doing in the past. And so currently trying to build out my portfolio, get some more images so I can approach people who aren't maybe as trusting as Dragonsteel was with me. They honestly kind of went in blind with me, and I'm really grateful for that, and I don't expect other clients to do so. So I'm currently working on a series of paintings of women with swords, which the shallow version of that story is that I have a collection of swords and knives, and I need an excuse to paint them, and my friends get to model them, which they think is great. But the deeper explanation is I love stories of strong women, and I feel like us as women often have to lean into fiction because the stories of real women are often unwritten or forgotten throughout history, and so we really cling to these fictional stories oftentimes. And so these paintings of stabby ladies, as I've been calling them, is my homage to these matriarchs we create in the absence of our real ones.
I've seen some of them, and they really are fantastic. Are any of them hanging at your gallery right now?
Not at the gallery. They were at my booth, so if you stop by my booth, I had 2 of them.
Okay, that's awesome. I want to see more of those. Those are really
thank
cool.
you.
The last question here is, I have a lead for you on museum dioramas.
Somebody told me that yesterday.
Isn't that funny?
So you might be losing me to the diorama world.
Yeah, like 2 hours after that panel, somebody was like, so I work on museum dioramas.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we, I haven't asked this question yet. Maybe the most important question. What are you painting?
I'm painting Sack from Isles of the Emberdark as a Bird of Paradise card, but it's a very open interpretation according to whatever Brandon was thinking here. Also, I think he heard me say that I really didn't want to paint any more blue things, and so he's like, haha, it's turquoise now. So
you're not going to be using a whole tube of ultramarine on this one?
No, thankfully, just a little bit of a dab, but it's still blue, so it's like borderline PTSD.
Well, it's looking great. Anything else you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
You all are amazing. I love you. Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you, Esther.
Yeah.
If you haven't had a chance, go see her gallery downtown Provo, Compass Gallery. It's really great, and we'll be doing some more events there, it sounds like. So thank you.
Thanks, Isaac. And thanks, Esther. If you guys made it over to the Lightweaver booth or have been on the Lightweaver website, you'll notice that we have a lot of auction items already, and we actually were able to go to the Compass Gallery for an event this summer and do a very similar painting experience with a lot of the local artists, and we have some of those paintings in the auction, as well as what the artists are working on tonight and some other things. So it's fun to see, and I'm so in awe of how much involvement the artists have with the charity. It's very humbling for me, and we really appreciate everything that the artists do for us. So just give them another round of applause for how much time and dedication they give back to charity every year with us. So we are going to turn our time over to talk a little bit about Prison Book Program. And so we would love to have, we have Ted here, and we'd love for Ted to share a little bit about themselves and then also introduce what Prison Book Program is.
So my name is Ted. I am the new volunteer session coordinator at the Prison Book Program. We send free books to incarcerated people in all 50 states and 2 U.S. territories. I believe that access to education and to literature are human rights, and that if a system withholds those things from a person, it is, in effect, denying that they are human. Many of our readers may not have received mail from the outside world in years, if not decades, so just knowing that they're not forgotten can make a huge change in somebody's life. Every time that we send a book out, we include an invoice with a handwritten letter, just letting people know that we are still thinking about them and that we hope that they have access to things like education, literature, art, growth, opportunities to heal and to become better people.
That's amazing. Thank you. So I noticed that your next slide, I'm gonna click over to this. Can you tell me a little bit about the letters that you receive?
So we receive hundreds, if not thousands, of letters every month. People write to us. Sometimes it is an incarcerated person writing on their own behalf. Sometimes we get letters from mothers writing about their children, husbands writing about incarcerated wives. We get all kinds of letters requesting for all kinds of things. So when we receive a letter, we go to our library of donated books and we try to find something that the reader in question would both A, like to have, and B, is allowed to have. Allowed to have can be really, really tricky. You would not believe the types of restrictions that we encounter at Prison Book Program. We face things like places that only accept paperback books, places that demand that all composition notebooks that we send have page numbers, which I've never seen a composition notebook with a page number in my life. You know, so it's sort of a backwards way of withholding access to just blank paper, which is such a easy resource for people on the outside to find. We don't even really think about it. But to somebody who's incarcerated, that's a way that you can write down the phone numbers and addresses of the people on the outside so that you don't forget it. It's paper that you can use to write down addresses to charities that help you, like the Prison Book Program. So the letter on the screen from David in Florida is so special to us, but it's also the sort of thing that I see on a daily basis at PBP.
That's amazing. And I've received letters. So this is an interesting, Emily and I have both seen this. One of the reasons that we started working with prison programs is Brandon gets a lot of letters, handwritten from the incarcerated.
Yeah, I think that, you know, reading the Stormlight Archive and Kaladin's situation really speaks to someone who's actually incarcerated, and I love it when they reach out.
I can say without a shadow of a doubt that among fantasy authors, Brandon Sanderson is the most popular author request that we get. Yeah, so hugely popular.
And we actually have a letter from Prison Book Program that Tim gave us, that a copy of a letter that was sent, that was asking and explaining everything about Brandon's books, and those are the letters that we've received before, and it's really touching to have somebody that is relating to the characters in the books. And so what we love that Prison Book Program does is work on getting books in the hands of people, and that's one of the initiatives of Lightweaver. And so can you tell me a little bit about the process? You said did you say 30,000 in a month? Or what'd you say? Can you remind me how many?
So it varies wildly just depending on the time of year, and it even varies on like which sorts of facilities are allowing us to send books in a given month. I know that this past month we sent out 1,600 packages. Now a package can be anywhere from a single book to I have personally sent a 10-book package. Now all of those books were extremely small. They were like for children, but yeah, we send out an enormous number of packages every year. I can tell you that last year, Prison Book Program spent more money on postage stamps than I spent on rent. So, an insane amount of packages, yeah.
How do you process these requests and get the books into the hands of those that are requesting them?
So the very first thing that we do is when a letter arrives at Prison Book Program, we open it, we read through it, make sure that it actually is a book request. If it's not a book request, we might forward them to another organization. We will try to help them, but we are primarily a book organization. Then what we're going to do is use publicly available databases to verify the location of the reader. Now that seems strange, but that's actually a wildly important step because a lot of people in prison might get shoved in a van without warning and transferred overnight. So they might not actually know where they're going to be by the time we get that letter. So we need to use those databases to verify, okay, where is this person? So we make sure that when we send out the books, they actually arrive in our readers' hands. Then what happens is the letter goes to a volunteer called a picker. The pickers have 2 rooms, one for fiction, one for nonfiction. They're both pretty big, but we could always use more books. And what they do is they read a list of restrictions provided by the verifier. So the verifier says, okay, they are in such and such prison, and this prison has this list of rules in our database. So the picker gets both the letter and the list of rules that they have to work with. And it can be really tough to make both of those things work together, but as a picker, what you're doing is just trying to do everything in your power to make sure that even if someone doesn't get the perfect book from us, we have to make sure that they get something. You know, sometimes I've gotten letters from someone who their only request is, give me manga. And the restriction says, no manga. So then what I might do is I might go over to language learning and get them a book about how to read Japanese. I might go over to an American comic book. I might go over to fantasy and pick out a copy of a novel about a samurai. I have sent Yumi under that situation, actually. So yeah.
That's great. So can you tell us a little bit? You said Brandon is wildly requested.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about why his books are so meaningful and impactful for those that are incarcerated?
Well, I would say one of the big things that I've noticed is incarcerated people really lack human connections. And when you read Brandon's novels, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, the magic and the battles are actually less important than just reading about people that feel so real. Those relationships in those books, those friendships, those marriages, you know, people in prison are really missing that. And so I think that's a big factor, is that Brandon's novels, in addition to being absolutely incredible fantasy, they're also like really great character studies.
That's amazing. So I believe this is based in the Boston area, correct?
Yes,
is this where Prison Book Program started?
Yeah, so we actually originated during the anti-war movement in the Vietnam era. We are the oldest organization of our kind. So originally it was draft resistors getting arrested, and then their friends would send them books. Originally it was like the senders would know the incarcerated person in question, but that just spread, and the fire has been kept alive after all of these decades. So originally we were working out of Boston. Now we are in Quincy, which is just on the other side of the river from Boston. Yeah.
That's amazing. So we have a lot of local charities. Like that's typically, and that's one of the things I love about Prison Book Program is it's actually not centered here in Utah. Yeah. What is a way for somebody to be able to get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you Google Prison Book Program, we will be the very first result, and you should be able to find a variety of wish lists. If you've been at the con, I might have handed you this pamphlet. The QR code leads you directly to a wish list curated for Sanderson fans. The cheapest item on that wish list is just $7, but that can make a huge difference to someone who might be paid as little as 15 cents an hour for their labor.
Wow. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us about Prison Book?
Yeah, if you know someone in prison who you think would benefit from our program, please do not hesitate to reach out on their behalf. What we're going to have you do is go to our website, and there's an online request form. We would prefer if you ask for genres instead of specific titles. That's just going to make it easier for the pickers to find something that matches the request. But I've known people who are requesting for like their college roommate who they haven't seen in 10 years. So if you know someone who you think could benefit from our program and you know what kinds of books they like, please reach out to us.
Amazing. Well, we really appreciate you guys being at Nexus. This is the second time that we've had Prison Book Program here. Last year it was when we were at the Radisson, and we appreciate that you came back on board and are on the floor with us. How was the experience so far? It seems like
it
people
was just
really
so overwhelming. So me personally, this was my first time at Dragonsteel. I just felt so honored to be invited. The whole program is really appreciative. We've already gotten hundreds of donations of books. We've broken more than $1,000 worth on our wish list alone, and that's not including all the amazing vendors who have donated directly to us today. So we're just so appreciative. It makes a huge difference for the Prison Book Program. Thank you again.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for coming and being a part of this. We just really appreciate our partners coming and spending time and letting our fans know what you guys are doing so that they can support Prison Book Program. So thank you, and we will turn the time over. I think we've got Isaac. He's already ready to go. We'll turn the time over to Isaac. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, how about right there? Well, here we are with Dan Dos Santos. It's really great to have you here.
Oh, thank you guys. It's great to be here.
Well, let's start out by the question that I've been wanting to know most. Where did you get a red Strata easel?
Well, Howard lent me his personal easel, so thank you to Howard. This is all of Howard's paint. This is all of Howard's brushes. So if the painting isn't good, it's Howard's fault. But these Strata easels are made by our friend Brian Mark Taylor, who's also a phenomenal artist if you don't know him. So they're just like these good easels that are designed by artists for artists. These are like, when I was in school, we used to use what's called a French pochade, and it's like a 50-pound wood portable easel. This is like 10 pounds. This is so much better.
Speaking of Brian, he wanted to be here tonight.
Yeah.
However, he broke his shoulder, unfortunately. This was a few weeks ago, but I mean, it makes it so he couldn't be here.
I've heard that excuse before from Brian.
I just wanted to give a shout out to him and some well wishes because we miss him.
Well, I wish that he could be here.
And if you're an artist, you should check out Brian's easels at Strata. I'm not trying to do an advertisement or anything. I just think they're really cool. So check them out. All right. Another thing that I want to talk about, your new art book.
Yeah, which like just announced today. I'm kind of coming off this whirlwind of doing 140 paintings for Marvel for a trading card set. And the set is highly collectible and not that accessible, so they're finally making an art of book that I'm really proud of, like a 200-page art book that should be in Barnes & Noble and comic shops next year.
So there's also a crowdfunding campaign that will be going live here pretty soon that you can look up.
Yeah, there's the company that's publishing it is Clover Press. They're kind of the guys that used to do IDW, and they like to do Kickstarters. And they'll eventually, you could just get it at your local comic shop, but the Kickstarter gives you all this amazing swag, like sketchbooks and puzzles and stickers and all these things that helps their pre-order and that you wouldn't get in the shops. So if you guys want to check it out, I'm sure you could just Google it. I'll have it on my social media as soon as I get home. So.
And also, this is the first time that you've had an art book.
It is my first art book. I kind of wish my first art book was urban fantasy and just fantasy in general, but I am very happy with the comic one. So.
Well, it does seem apropos because, like you said earlier, you got your start and your love of the media because of comic books.
100%. That was my. I didn't know who Michelangelo was until after I knew who Jim Lee was.
Oh, yeah. Big shout out to Jim Lee. He's a good guy. All right. So, can you tell us what you're painting today?
I am painting Brandon's rendition of Lord of the Pit. Lord of the Pit is this like beast of a magic card. It's like 7/7 flying trample. This is maybe the Lord of the Pit's nicer, friendlier cousin. Maybe Earl of the Pit.
Well, it's looking really good. Can you tell us a little bit about your painting process? I mean, especially right now, you're having to adapt because it's so fast.
Yeah, I'm trying to stick as much as I can to Brandon's drawing. I think one of the remarkable things about rendering in paint is that the moment you do believable lighting and shadow, even the most ridiculous things start to take tangible form. So it should feel real and absurd at the same time. So I'm just trying to stick to his drawing and develop the roundness of it as much as I can.
Can we expect some of that Dos Santos glow from this?
I'm saving it for the end.
All right, that's awesome. a question that occurs to me right now is, we talked a little earlier about how quickly you had to paint for the Marvel cards, and has that affected how you paint after that? Are you like naturally more faster,
You
or?
would think that, right? But I don't even know how I did it in retrospect. That I did 140 paintings in a year and a half, which works out to like a painting every 3 days. Whereas I normally typically spend 2 weeks on one image. And I think I didn't form memories. Truly, I didn't get enough sleep, and it exhausted me. And I thought, oh, after this, all my paintings are going to take 3 days. And nope, I'm right back to 2 weeks. It's like it was another person for a couple of years.
Did it inform any of your process, though? Did you change anything about it? Did you learn new things about your own process?
I've gotten better at trusting myself and not overthinking things. When you only have 3 days, you can't explore every option. You just kind of need to commit and go with it. And quite often, it takes as much time to do both options as it would have to decide on one. And so my new, just do it all. Do all the options, and just don't second guess and get it done. If you don't like it, do it again.
Oh, I love that. I think that's almost a really good creative maxim that some people could follow who maybe are having a hard time finishing things, is to just say, oh, just trust yourself and do it. There's always another painting. There's always another story you can tell where you can get better.
Yep, I think it's a problem a lot of creatives suffer. It's, overworking that first draft of the book before you ever really not even a draft, just thinking about your book and thinking and thinking and thinking instead of just write a chapter. Write a chapter, and if you don't like it, write a new one next week,
All right. Where do you see your career going now? Because you've painted all the things you love, right? You developed the style of the whole basically urban fantasy genre that lasted for like 2 decades. And then you've painted Marvel, you've painted Sanderson, you've painted Rothfuss. I'm missing some in here. Butcher,
Briggs. I know
Briggs.
there's nowhere to go but down, right? I really honestly don't know, and I think that's the exciting thing, is I'm kind of curious to see where I go. I think, and maybe most artists can empathize with this, I don't know that I've reached the style I'm going to be known for. I feel like I'm always growing and developing, and I'm striving towards something that's still a little elusive. So wherever I'm going, I'm kind of like, I'll find out, yeah.
That is exciting, right?
Yeah, it wouldn't be exciting. Art wouldn't be nearly as fun if you knew exactly where you were going with everything. I like those accidents, those surprises that inform new styles and new things. It usually comes out of accidents.
Can you tell us a little bit about your art class that you teach?
Oh yeah, I teach this really amazing program called Smarter Art School, which Donato used to teach at. And I've met a lot of amazing people through there, Kari Christensen and stuff, but it's a group of maybe a dozen really professional artists, illustrators particularly, that teach a very intensive online 14-week mentorship. And it is just like the Olympics of art education, I think. And there's so many good ones. My class in particular, I take just 6 students a semester. And for 14 weeks, I make them feel horrible about themselves.
And I've been able to be a part of those a few times as a guest
helped
art
me
director.
out. I'm hoping you're going to do that with me this coming semester.
Yeah,
actually.
I'm planning to. I always enjoy it. I enjoy chatting with the artists and just getting to see what they're doing. It's exciting to see where upcoming generations of artists are going.
Yep. And Isaac is with me there because part of the class is about helping really good amateurs make that final hurdle into pro. And so one of the things we do is we give them a mock professional job. And so Isaac is kind enough to look at these students' sketches, give them an assignment, just like it would be if he was hiring me, pick their sketches, and then give them revisions, and they have to present this final piece to an art director, just like they would a real job, so that when they do get that first job, they feel confident in how they approach it.
And we've actually, since then, we've published some of the people who have been your students.
Clint Lockwood, I saw a lot of his pieces here, and your Skyward piece was one of my students. There's quite a bit here who all just did killer work for you. Really phenomenal.
Yeah, it's been a great experience being part of that. So I'm going to ask another question. Is there anything in the Cosmere that you would like to paint?
Oh, there's so much. There is so much. Believe it or not, I would still do more Warbreaker paintings. I feel like I'm not done with Warbreaker. I've never had a crack at Vin. I really want to paint Vin. I really want to paint Lift.
Wow.
It's hard when you're a fan because you kind of want to do it all, but I think one day I'll get there. Even if it's in my spare time, I'll get those done.
Well, if you're doing it in your spare time, please let me know.
Always.
I want to see them. This question here is something that I saw what you did with Name of the Wind.
Mm-hmm.
You did 21 plus illustrations for that.
Yep.
How long did that take you? Because you were doing this other one for Marvel, not at the same time, but how long did that take you?
It took me, I think, probably almost a full year. And that has different challenges than, say, the card art. The card art, every piece can stand on its own. If one is bad, it's no big deal. But when you're illustrating a book, a full book, you have to figure the pacing of the book into it. You have to make sure one image complements another or tells a different kind of story. And so it just took a lot of planning, making sure the style was consistent throughout, because I can't change my mind halfway through. And then on top of that, it was the anniversary edition of Name of the Wind. So I was already a really large fan, which kind of makes it harder. It's when you really love a thing and you're trying to paint it, it's hard not to take it personally and feel like it's inadequate. But I spent a full year on the project, I bet.
Well, it turned out really incredible. One of the things that I still can't, we've got some applause out there for it, people who have seen it. One of the things I can't get over is your depiction of wind.
Oh.
That blew me away, how you kind of took this, you married the themes of music that are in the piece, in the story, and you married it with visual wind elements.
It's a hard thing there's a few things you just can't paint. You can't actually paint light. You can only paint light's effect on an object, whether it be water in the air or dust in the air or striking a surface, but otherwise you never see it. And wind, the same thing. You can paint leaves, you can paint hair, but you can't really paint wind. And it's such an integral, symbolic part of the story that I felt like it was important to find a way to represent it. And so Kavoth, who lives in this world of music, I thought the idea of wind singing to him through the trees, it would literally be like musical staffs, and maybe the leaves are like notes on those staffs. So,
oh, I love that. It just was so symbolic.
It's apt for the story, too. The whole story feels like symbolic representation of this hero, you know?
Yeah, I got chills looking at that piece and just hearing how you just described it earlier today.
Oh, well,
just
thank you.
amazing. Well, before we close with you, is there anything else you would like to say?
Oh, just thanks for having me here. This weekend has been a whirlwind, and I don't know that I've ever been to a convention quite this spectacular. You guys have done a phenomenal job at coordinating things, and the fandom has been one of the most welcoming and warm fandoms I've ever met.
Well, thank you, Dan, for being here and for being our featured guest, artist guest. And thank you for all the applause, everyone, and thank you, Dan, for being here.
Truly my honor. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so our next collaborator is Lifting Hands International, and we have Jessica Arch here to tell us about that organization.
Thank you. So glad to be here. We're Lifting Hands International. We help refugees here at home and around the world. So providing aid to people affected by war or disaster all along their journey.
So when you say refugee, what's Lifting Hands International's definition of refugee?
Yeah, so a refugee is anyone who's displaced from their home due to war or persecution, natural disaster. There's lots of reasons why someone would leave everything and flee to a safer place.
And how did you get started doing this?
Yeah, we turned 10 years old in 2026, so we're almost there to that big anniversary. We got our start at the height of the Syrian refugee crisis in 2016. And, our founder, Haley, just looked around and was really motivated about wanting to do something and help. She was seeing all those news images that we all did, and went to Greece to volunteer, and was really shocked and surprised at the state of the aid infrastructure, that there wasn't more support, that the aid that was there was missing the mark in a lot of ways. And that was her light bulb moment of, there has to be a better way. There has to be a way to be supplying aid that's actually needed, that's actually is wanted, that's organized, that's clearly labeled, that's, you know, that's meeting the needs instead of just good intentions gone to waste. And that's when she came home and founded Lifting Hands.
That's pretty cool. So how is Lifting Hands International different than other humanitarian organizations that deal with this?
Yeah, we really take pride in having a listen-first approach everywhere that we work. And we work around the world. So places that you hear about in the news, like Ukraine or Myanmar or Gaza or Democratic Republic of the Congo, you know, all of these crises that are happening, we have a presence there. And we really can see that there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It really is about getting to know the local communities, finding what gaps are there, and then helping to meet those needs. People are ready and willing and wanting to change their lives, rebuild their lives, and we're just, you know, there to partner with them in that process.
That's amazing. Do you have a story to share with us?
Yeah, lots of stories. Yeah, I'll see if this comes up on the video. So,
do you want me to hold it?
Sure. One of the things, right, is there's several stages to a refugee journey. There's that survival stage. There's a healing stage. There's a rebuilding phase. So this is Lisa. We met her in Burundi, which is a tiny country in East Africa. About 70,000 Congolese refugees have fled over the border from the Democratic Republic of the Congo into Burundi just this year. We met her there in a camp, and honestly, conditions were pretty rough. She's in that survival stage, right? Yeah. She literally had just fled her home days before when militias came into her village, and there wasn't resources in the camp where she was. They had half a can of beans for the week for her family, was all they were given. And it's heartbreaking to see conditions like that. And so that's, you know, that survival stage is why it's so important to provide food and water and shelter in those moments, to treat people with dignity as they're, you know, literally just trying to survive.
Yeah.
But then, you know, there's other stages. So this is Mbalo. She's also a Congolese refugee, and she's in Uganda. And we met her in a camp there, and she's in the rebuilding phase. She's safe. She's got, you know, a home that she's living in, a mud hut, and but she, you know, there's a lot of dependence on aid in refugee camps like this. There's not a lot of jobs or economic opportunities. And she has her own children. Her sister was killed. She's adopted her nieces and nephews, 2 of those kids, into her family. So she's caring for a lot of children. And we were able to give her 2 goats. Now, you know, goats are an amazing transformational form of aid. And this is something where it's a one-time investment of aid, and yet it reaps benefits for years to come. So families, women like Mbala, she breeds the goats. She can build up a herd, earn income off of the herd, and she's using that money to pay for food and school fees so her kids can be in school. And they're so entrepreneurial. One of the things we're seeing is families will start selling the goat poop as fertilizer. So from day one, they can start earning money off of the goats while they're waiting for them to breed. And goats breed, you know, they usually have twins or triplets each time, so it's really pretty quick to build a herd and have some of that steady income. And that's what's so exciting about, you know, a form of aid like that and helping people really rebuild.
Yeah. Who would have thought that giving a goat could do something like that?
Yeah.
That's why you have the goat at your booth, right?
Yes, we have the giant goat,
at our booth.
At our booth.
That's fantastic. You say you go all over the world, and have you seen changes in the 10 years that you've been doing this in the way that things have been happening in the world with refugees?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the number of people displaced is just going up and up. You know, now we're at 123 million people, which is 1 in every 67 is displaced. When I first started 3 years ago at the organization, it was 120 million, right? So it's going the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And really, we're at a point in the humanitarian world right now where a lot of the structures are crumbling. You know, we canceled US aid here. UN has cut a lot. In Uganda, for example, they've cut the food budgets by more than 50%. And so, yeah, there's just a lot more need, but it's also a time for innovation and, you know, really making sure that the aid that is provided is effective, is wanted, and that's really, you know, we kind of feel like LHI is built for this moment where so many other organizations are scaling down or cutting, losing programs. You know, we're building, we're adding. And that's been really exciting to be able to step in and fill in some of these gaps and needs.
That is exciting. One of the things I love that LHI does is they will put a note in a package that goes to a refugee that says something like, "You are loved," or other things like that. And people will, you know, school children will do these and color them and make them all pretty. And you know, offices will kind of sponsor that and have everybody make a note. When Dragonstill, I don't know if it was the first thing we did with LHI, but one of the things we did was all of our employees got together and we made up packets and we filled up a shipping container and sent it to Ukraine. And it was amazing because we got a video back that showed them opening up our container and giving things to people in need. And the people had these notes that said, "You are loved," and what a wonderful thing to get. And that's something so simple, but so impactful for somebody who is in that situation of being displaced.
It's one of the most impactful things. I mean, so many people feel forgotten, and to feel like, oh, someone cares about me, someone loves me, even though I don't know them and they don't know me, we're connected in this way, and it's beautiful. And you're right, that's a simple service project that anybody can do, no matter your age, no matter your artistic level, and yet it brings this connection. It's a way of treating each other with dignity. And you know, that bottle of shampoo that's in the hygiene kit, it's gonna run out at some point, right? But that feeling of connection, of love, of not being forgotten, that can last so much longer. And we see people hold on to those cards because it means so much.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. So if our viewers are at home or people here, what can they do to help LHI?
There's lots of ways to get involved. Make these You Are Loved cards. We would love to have more of those. We give out thousands of them a year. You can find more volunteer opportunities at our website, lhi.org. We have a needs list that's posted there, so we're collecting the items for the hygiene kits, for the women's kits, the school kits. Anywhere that you are in the country, you can make these and assemble them, and we'll coach you on how to get them to our warehouse so we can fill up those shipping containers and get them out to different refugee camps around the world. And, you know, of course, always donations. We love partnering with Lightweaver Foundation and so appreciative. But yeah, as individuals too, a donation can make a difference. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money, right? $10 buys a chicken, $150 buys a goat. And like I said, those forms of aid are just so impactful going on and on.
If people are interested, do they have a chance to kind of specify where their donation goes to?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can pick a chicken, pick a goat, pick a gift period products or gift school kits, whatever you want to do.
I think sometimes that's meaningful to the giver.
Yeah.
When they have a personal connection with what they're doing. And sometimes it's nice to think about, here's what I'm giving, and it's actually going to a real person and who really needs this.
It makes a great holiday present too. So we've got a certificate you can print off if you're giving it as a gift as well.
Yeah, I like to do that with my kids and say, okay, here's the thing we're working on. Here's your gift, and your gift is to give it to someone else who actually needs something. My kids are very, very blessed, and they don't need a lot of things. So it is helpful to do something like that. How did you get involved with all of this? You say you've been with LHI for 3 years.
Yeah, as an employee, I started as a volunteer myself. So assembling hygiene kits, I bought a goat, and then have been so lucky to be able to join the team and be a part of it as well. And you know, that's what is so great, is creating this community. If you're local in Utah, we do events at our warehouse in American Fork. We have a community center in Greece. Some people can come volunteer at if they're looking for long-term volunteer opportunities. And then, you know, even just through like our newsletter or our blog, we're really all about making these connections and telling stories and bringing people together. And it's fabulous to be a part of.
Yeah. Well, and like I said before, when we look for international partners, we want to make sure that the money that we donate makes it to the people who need it. And that's one of the reasons why LHI has been so helpful, is you give something to them and they have people from their organization in the country, but they also work with local individuals in that country, and so they know what the needs are, but they have someone there making sure that, kind of shepherding that donation and making sure that it gets to where it needs to go. And that's a pretty cool thing.
Yes, we always have a local partner or local staff in a country so that we're able to, again, build these connections and these relationships. The families we give the goats to, for example, we stay with them for a year. We're visiting them in their house every month. How's it going? What do you need? That's how we've learned that vet care for that first year is just vitally important. So we offer that now. And we're able to just continually refine and improve the program, because it's not just us dropping off aid and leaving. It really is a partnership.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but if you give someone a goat and then the goat dies, what do you do?
Yeah.
So giving vet care, that's fantastic. Yeah. Anything else you'd like to tell people about Lifting Hands International?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much need in the world, but there's also so much hope, and it's amazing to see the resilience and the strength of the refugee communities that we work with, and to be able to partner alongside them, to invest in them, is just one of the greatest gifts. And so, yeah, we would love to encourage you to get involved. Like I said, there's lots of ways, no matter your age, no matter your, you know, income level or anything. There's always something that you can do to make a difference, and we would love to have you be a part of our LHI family.
Thank you, Jessica. This is
Thank you.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Isaac's set up to interview our next artist.
Yeah, here we are. We're here with Carly Milligan. How are you doing?
Doing really good.
Awesome. First off, I want to ask you about the editions of Moon Called that you illustrated for Grim Oak this year.
Yeah, so this was a big dream project come true for me. Little bit of background. Dan mentioned his mentorship class. Moon Called, those book series was originally illustrated by Dan, and I loved them so much that I, for the first time, looked up the artist. Yeah, and so to get to ask to do my own take on that was really incredible. And yeah, I poured my heart and soul into that book, and it's on pre-order right now, and I've been hearing people like it, so.
How many illustrations?
Total of 8 paintings, including the cover.
Okay, which that's a lot of work. Were they all in oils? Were they all traditionally made?
Yep. So I painted all of them traditionally. I tend to do my underpainting in acrylic, but then I always finish it off in oils because I just love that creamy luminosity that other media can't replicate.
Yeah, there really is quite a depth to oil painting that it's just really cool.
Yeah.
Plus, it's just so much fun to feel it go across the. I don't know what it is. It's like the ASMR. You know, it's like you're like, ooh. It's just fun to mix paint and put it on the canvas. I saw you squinting here earlier, and this is a really cool trick that artists can use. And can you tell us what you were doing as you kind of stood back and squinted at the painting?
Yeah. So I especially, like everyone does this, but I especially am very prone to super close and lost in the details. And so it's really important to step back and see, is the picture working as a whole? For example, like if I'm looking at this and I have my value structure, this is my lightest light. So if I'm doing a highlight on this rock and I'm looking at the values next to it, that value might be too bright if I'm comparing it to the kitty. So when I squint my eyes, I lose the details, and then I'm able to see more of like the image as a whole.
Yeah, it's a really great trick that you can use to just really kind of look at your values and see if it's reading well. While we're talking about the painting, tell us what it is.
Yeah, so I gave Brandon 3 options, and he chose all of them. So I had selected, oh, my brain's gonna fry, Tamio, because there's a card that I think is like Story Keepers. I'm blanking on the name, but it was story related, and I was like, oh, I love that. And then I also offered Chandra's Ember Cat for a kitty made of fire, and then Stargaze from the Bloomborough set. And he said, I'm gonna do all 3. So we have Tamio, the Ember Cat, sitting under a beautiful galaxy sky. I will paint the stars at the end.
So far, it's looking really great. I really love how the values are shining. It looks great. That kind of brings me into my next question. We've talked with some of the other artists here, like Kari loves to do monsters. We know that, and we'll talk to Caitlin later, she loves to do dragons. Dan is known for magical light, and tattoos, and being able to paint beautiful flesh tones, among other things. How do you encapsulate your style, or what things do you like to paint? What do you feel like you want to be known for?
Oh, that's a big question that I am honestly still kind of figuring out. I know my inclinations are towards, I love people, faces, gesture. I have a dance background, so like pose and gesture can mean a lot to me. But I also really love color and light. Yeah, so people, color, light is the direction I'm headed.
Color, light. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. You just got off of a dream project. What other dream projects might, what would you like to...
Sanderson, duh.
I know that we've asked this before, but I think it's a good question to ask. You say that you would love to do a Sanderson project. What are some things that you would love to paint?
I mean, I kind of feel like Dan's answer of I'm a fan of the series, and I love so many of the characters that trying to pick something off the spot is really hard.
People, color, light. This is sounding very Warbreaker.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Warbringer would be good. I'd actually really love to paint Vin, even though that world is like very gray. There's a lot of fun, I think, for like action, pose, shape, design.
There's colorful
swirly mist.
Swirly mist. There's colorful stained glass.
That's a good point. That's true.
Can you tell us something that we don't know about you, like a hobby outside of painting, or something that it's like, oh, in my spare time I like to create cheese paint or something, and we need to, get you and Howard together to do this.
I feel like the oddest hobby I have, which I haven't done in a few years because it needs some work and attention, is I drive a motorcycle.
You drive a motorcycle? That's
I do.
Really cool. What kind?
It's a V-Star 1100, so it's like a bigger road touring bike. I did a motorcycle trip with my dad years and years and years ago, all the way up the California coast into Canada and then back down through Glacier. So it was like 2 weeks on a motorcycle and camping.
That sounds really awesome.
It was really awesome.
That's
a great
really
trip.
cool. We have a couple of motorcycle enthusiasts at the office,
Oh,
and
nice.
it's like, oh, is it is it a motorcycle weather today? Can I drive it in?
Yeah. I'm actually wearing my motorcycle boots.
Ooh, that's great. That's really cool. Are you gonna paint your bike?
Maybe after I get it running again and clean it up.
Well, that's a really awesome hobby. Something that others might not know is that you and I met in a class that Howard and Dan taught.
Yes.
It's like a week-long workshop.
Yes, that was the very start of my like oil painting and fantasy art.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, aside from drawing as a kid, but no, like, oh, this is a thing I can do. I'm gonna do it.
Now, Kari?
Now here I am.
Yeah. Was Kari in the class too, and Caitlin?
Yeah, it's where Caitlin and I first met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a reunion. Guys, who brought the casserole? Well, that's really great. So if people want to see your work, where do they go?
I mean, there's my website, carlymilligan.com. I do post on Instagram once in a blue moon. Yeah, getting on my website, I do have a newsletter because algorithms are evil. Newsletter is probably your best bet for seeing my new work and keeping up to date.
Do you ever display your work, because you work a lot traditionally? Do you ever have shows or galleries or anything like that? Is there going to be a showing of the work that you did for Moon Called?
You know, I haven't worked with like any galleries to set something like that up. That's a brilliant idea. I'm going to write that down.
Do it for the book release, maybe.
That could be fun.
Idea.
It's a juried show, so I don't know that I'll be in it, but I did apply for IllexCon. It's a big fantasy illustration show in Reading, Pennsylvania every October. So if I get accepted to that, I'll probably display all the Moon Called paintings there.
Awesome. I hope you do. If you do, I hope I get out there to see them.
Yeah, I know Brian's done that show a few times.
He has.
It's a good show.
Anything else before we wrap up?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Well, thank you. One last thing for all those painting up here. We are just over halfway. I don't have a big buzzer like on Lego Masters that scares you, but we are just over halfway, just so you can kind of keep an eye on how much time you have. Thank you, Carly.
Thank you, Isaac.
Thank you. Thanks, Isaac, for interviewing all of our artists and kind of highlighting what they've been working on. It's fun to see Brandon's sketches come to life. And the fact that they're able to take on this challenge. It started off that they used to paint models for us, and then it's kind of evolved to involve Brandon, and I know it has added some layers of difficulty and challenges, but also has made it really fun, I think, to see kind of what can be created. So.
Yeah. And if you want to see the original sketches when Brandon was doing them, it was on the Halloween live stream that Howard came and Brandon had these prompts and made these sketches. So it's kind of fun.
So we have our next charity partner who we've been able to spend a little more time with this year, which has been really exciting. So this is Amy Chandler from My Story Matters. I know a lot of people that came and visited the booth. We work with a couple different prison programs. And so they're all in a lot of ways, a similar initiative, but there's different things going on. So we would love to have Amy share a little bit about My Story Matters, because it's such an amazing program, and we're very excited to share that with you tonight.
Oh, thrilled to be here and for the opportunity to meet so many of you. Brandon just attracts the best people. That's what we've decided. You just assemble the best people here. The work we do at My Story Matters is quite varied. We sit with individuals who are ready to change their story. Something about life right now isn't what they want. And they come to us seeking help to figure out how to do that. And we empower them with a framework that's built around the hero's journey, which is such a natural fit with so much of Brandon's work. And we help them discover what's burning deep inside their soul. Like, what were you sent here to do? What's that passion that's burning inside of you? What's the purpose that you have, and what is it you want to create? And we find language for that. And we work to commit to creating that, to step in and do it, especially when we don't know how. One of our favorite phrases is, the how is none of your business. You will figure out how, when you look in the rearview mirror and you took one right next step after another, you'll put the pieces together. But we help empower you with a set of tools that helps you work through the concerns that are going to show up, because they're going to be there. And we help you face the fear that's going to show up, and to create the communities of support that you need, and then to look at who you really are. Create that identity within self that's going to carry you forward through the purpose that you're creating. And we're going to help you make sense of all the emotions that show up when that happens, because we're going to have some emotions. And one of the things that we always love to share is that anxious is an emotion that shows up. And for so many of us, when we're creating something new for self, that shows up. And the same brain wavelength of anxiety is also excitement, and the root is anxious. And so we like to help you learn how to work with that anxious emotion of doing something unknown and new, and turn it into excitement for what you get to create, to step in and be the creator of your life. And we make a plan for the unexpected, because that is what is going to happen. And so we get that plan put together, and then we help you figure out how to keep that all balanced. And so we get the opportunity to show up for people, to believe in them, to inspire them to do something they've never done before, to create what's been burning inside of them for a long time. And so we work with a lot of people. We don't have a great marketing avatar, because if 5 and up, our curriculum starts at age 5. And if you're breathing and you're 5 or older, these tools will bless your life.
That's amazing. And Amy, how long ago did you start kind of on your journey with this program?
So My Story Matters started 15 years ago, and I was trying to figure out what was burning in my soul, and part of it was to create this curriculum. And we jumped in with both feet and took one right next step. I didn't have a clue how to do it when I got the impression.
Really? And I know you guys have just been growing and developing since then. How have things changed over the years?
You know, early on, we started working with children in the homeless shelters and with children who had terminal diagnosis in the hospitals, and helping them create their final chapter that they wanted to leave behind, and to work with their families during that process. And in that process, we learned lots of things, and we received a grant from actually Salt Lake City that asked us to do 1,000 teenage refugee stories, to sit down with them and help them create their next chapter, empower them to build from where they had been. And shortly after that, we ended up in the school system, K-12, where we're currently working with 12 high schools and junior highs here in the state of Utah this year, helping empower teenagers with these tools, which is so important. And then it evolved into the prisons, as you know. We were invited to bring the curriculum into there. We spent a lot of time there. And so we work in a lot of spaces where it's really like the trenches, where they need like a radical reorganization of story. Mm-hmm. They're not, we work in addiction recovery spaces. We work in foster care with DCFS and the families involved there. We work, like I said, in the schools with businesses and corporations to train your company and get everybody these tools to become more motivated and intentional about what they're creating.
That's amazing. So we've been working with My Story Matters for several years, and I think if you go to Brandon's YouTube channel, I think the first kind of charitable video we did was with My Story Matters. It was a combination where we took over the warehouse and we packaged books that we sent to schools and also to some of the prisons. Mm-hmm. And so our relationships evolved a lot since then. So can you tell everybody a little bit about what you asked us earlier this year to do that we were able to take a part of this summer?
Well, you mentioned that you guys have gotten a lot of letters from individuals in prison about the books. It's certainly, his books come up a ton in our classes there. They do relate, as you said, to Kaladin's story, to so many, that story of redemption. It gives them hope that they can transform their story. And so we also started to get lots of letters asking us, do you think Brandon would ever come into prison? And do you think he would ever come and share his story? Could he teach us about the hero's journey from his perspective? And so we made a phone call and said, hey, do you want to go to prison?
And I pitched this. I remember I was driving in the car. I talked to Emily about what you had reached out about, because I have to be very selective on how many things I dedicate Brandon's, I request to dedicate Brandon's time to. And it felt like the right time. It just made sense. And I remember pitching Brandon, and it was instant. It was, do you want to go and go to these facilities? And there was no hesitation in his voice. And it was a really unique experience that I would love Emily to also share a little bit about what we did and how it was.
So we had a small group of us that kind of went to support Brandon, and Brandon had a speech that he gave to groups who had been through Amy's program, some of them multiple times. And so it was kind of a privilege for them to be able to come to this speech. And then in addition to that, Jane and I had an opportunity to sit down with some of, you guys call them residents, is that right?
Resident guides. So we have guides that teach our classes, and we have trained 50 inmates to be guides to teach this course inside the prison as well. And so these individuals have spent almost 2 years with us training up to be able to do that.
Yeah, so Jane and I sat down with people one-on-one and talked about their reaction to this curriculum and their journey, and obviously not with a ton of details, but it really, really impacted me. We both just would look at each other and think, look at how amazing things these people are doing. And these, at both prisons, these inmates were so eloquent and so kind and so hopeful. And I was like, wow, how can, we must be getting, the guys that are in there just for a couple weeks or whatever. And, we didn't ask, questions, but sometimes they volunteered information. And these men are not in there for small crimes. Like, these men have been through incredible depths, and to see them where we were seeing them in a position of hope and of progress and movement, they really, really benefited from this curriculum. And it was just fascinating to hear their stories and see the choices that they are making and taking charge of their own story. The curriculum is called Captain Your Story, and I love that because it's autonomy. It's hopeful. It's not things are being done to you, but you are choosing to do things. And it was really, really cool to see the impact that this has made on these guys. We particularly went to 2 prisons and visited with men's groups. But I know Amy's group has done all kinds of things with all kinds of populations. So it was fun to see their reaction to Brandon's speech. He based it off of the hero's journey, which is exactly what the curriculum follows as well. And these guys were so excited and so pleased. And we actually gave each of them a copy of The Way of Kings, a paperback copy. And I got to stand there and hand a book to each person and look them in the eyes. And then we walked out of there, and they stayed. And it was kind of heartbreaking to think of them there, but the fact that they have these things that they're learning about themselves and growing and changing and making good choices made me feel a little bit better about me being able to leave and them staying in there. The other thing I thought about as we talked with them is the situations that brought them to where they are. And I don't know if I could do any better under those same circumstances. Yes, they may have done really terrible things that have landed them in prison, but they had some really tough things to deal with, and it made me grateful for my life and also really wanting to find ways to help, and that prison can be a place not for just holding people, but for helping people to change. And I love that Amy's curriculum does this for them. It's been really cool.
Well, and 95% of them will come back into society, and our goal is that they come back and they're contributing members that we're happy are our neighbors, right? That have been able to transform and spend the rest of their life paying it back and paying it forward. And we often share Brandon's story of choosing to be the creator, right? So many of them are like, how am I going to do that? It's never been done before, etc. And we share with them. I'm like, Brandon creates what's never been done before all the time. He doesn't follow some map that's there, and you can choose to be the creator of your story no matter where you're at, no matter what resources you have. You can choose today, and that's just the message we like to leave with everybody is, we've helped almost 17,000 people through this framework at this point.
That's amazing.
And I had someone ask me, how would you sum up everything you've learned? And I agonized over this for months because I didn't know. And the thing that I finally landed on was that I have learned that when we give our voice and our energy to the war stories, the chapters of our story that have battered and bruised us, that are hard, they consume us, and it's very hard to move forward. But when we will give our voice and our energy to the champion story, when we will choose that call to adventure and we will create from that champion space, it transforms us. And so that's always the message we like to leave everybody is choose to be the creator of your story. Live with intention. Create your call to adventure, and that will transform you.
And that is an amazing place for us to end. But I do want to let everybody know that we do have a lot of content that we will be sharing early next year. It was amazing to be able to go through this experience, and we want to be able to share it, as much of it that we actually can. So I know that we do have some great things that we will be sharing next year with My Story Matters, and so you'll be able to see more of what we've been working on. So thank you, Amy, for coming and spending time with us tonight.
Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. You're so great.
Well, thank you. We're here with Donato Giancola. Did I say the last name right?
Yes.
I got it right. Yes. We're here with Donato. It's good to see you.
Yeah, great to be back here, Isaac.
Yeah, you came back.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I wasn't sure halfway through the year, but when I was looking at my schedule and I realized, I get this little space here. I know after LuxCon, I'm a regular attendee at a LuxCon, which is in October. And I realized, it's not that difficult. It's a direct flight. Why don't I go back? And so you helped open that door.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you came back because I love seeing you more.
Well, thanks. Yeah. And it's a great community here, too.
Yeah,
I just love the artist friends, the fans. They were happy to see me again.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really great that I got to see you back at WorldCon. We just right. We got to sit together during the Hugos, and sort of like we were like the two Muppet guys that sort of like talking a little bit, just enjoying that together. That was fun. Yeah, I loved that. I feel spoiled that I've got to see you so much this year.
Twice in 1 year.
It's great. So thank you for coming back to the convention. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're painting tonight?
Well, I'm painting one of my favorites is from Middle-earth, Lord of the Rings. And Brandon provided a sketch here, and I realized that he was imaging, I think, something that might have been from the movie that he had an idea from, and so I needed the inclusion of a hand because I love to paint hands.
Yeah, you do.
So I find I always find that middle ground with what the authors are providing and what I want to throw in, and so it was really kind of fun to find a way to get my voice in here, but also just when I looked at the image that he had provided, I wanted to be honest to the text of the books. And in this particular moment, I think that he was thinking of is when Frodo drops the ring on their mounting Caradhras going in the snow, and in the books that never happened. And I'm a real bookaholic when it comes to Lord of the Rings, and I like my details and I like my facts, and so I go, well, that never really happened in the books, and so I go, well, let's work with the composition, and I'll just get the hand of Frodo in there, and luckily Cambria helped the artist here to help pose for the hand, and so I was able to use Cambria's hand as a hand of Frodo here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cambria, you're famous. Well, this is looking really great. Last year you worked in a hand too.
Yes, I did. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, that's what I. No, but that was actually Brandon. Brandon did provide that.
He did that
with me. Yeah. He traced his hand, so that was fine. Yep.
Well, I mean, you are known for painting really incredible hands. Like I'm thinking the Joan of Arc, for example, is one of them where there's just, you can tell the character of the scene and the storytelling so much from just even the hand poses.
Well, I mean, hands are portraits. They reveal a tremendous amount about character of an individual, and I find that I've gravitated towards hands for almost since my entire professional career. They became, I remember back in college, we were taking an anatomy class, and just a bell went off about how to draw hands. And like after a couple of assignments 1 week, I could draw hands. And I was like so thrilled. So even in college, I was finding excuses to draw hands in my projects because I suddenly could do it. And they looked good. And I didn't know why. I don't know exactly what happened, but something just got triggered. And that's why I just love putting hands in my work.
Wow, I wish that you could help the rest of us with some of that magic, right? Being able to.
Yeah, well, I got to credit. I have to credit the teacher, that Jerome Wicken. He was the anatomist that I had for the class, and his incredible draftsmanship skill and his insight into providing how to be objective in your analysis of what you're seeing and how to interpret that really helped open my eyes. And so I got to really credit him with helping to open my own eyes as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, a very similar thing happened to me in college, taking a figure drawing class, and the teacher was fantastic. It opened my eyes to seeing things in a different way, and suddenly my drawings got better. You can't understate how much good teachers do.
No, they really, I mean, I could not be on the stage and in front of you all without the teachers that opened these conceptual doors, technical doors, and just welcoming doors to just invite you in and be creative, to explore. I mean, and that's why, like Dan, it is teaching, and I've taught for 25. I had taught for 25 years. I'm taking a break right now as I just concentrate on my own work. But I've taught at School of Visual Arts, at FIT, coming to lecture, going to BYU down here, doing some lectures quite a few years ago, and even continuing to mentor students when they ask. So I still continue to do that, but I'm just not full-time teaching like I used to.
Well, I mean, you've had an incredible career both on the painting side and the teaching side now.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You've been able to give back in so many ways that way.
Yeah, and I like doing this, right? Providing live demonstrations. It's a kind of a teaching moment here for some people.
So this is turning out really well.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the challenges that, in the short amount of time, like the challenges that you were facing as you painted?
Yeah, certainly. In previous years, I would dive right into oils on something like this, but I'm recognizing, and even in my own technical work, I'm doing more acrylic underpainting as a foundation. I think Carly might have mentioned that as well, that she uses quite a bit of acrylic underpainting. And so that's what I'm doing here. And I thought I'd switch over to oils, but I like the fluidity of what's happening with the acrylics, and I think and the layering that can happen, so I'm really just sticking with the acrylics this whole time. Oh. And again, because of our tight window of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's looking really good. So you mentioned Lord of the Rings. That has been a passion for you since you were young.
Yeah, dates back to when I started playing Dungeons and Dragons, and my brother handed me The Hobbit, knowing I was playing Dungeons and Dragons, and he figured I would like the book.
Do you know how many finished paintings you've done in the
from,
world?
Oh, you mean like my career?
Well, for the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, for Lord of the Rings specifically? Oh boy, maybe 80, 90,
Wow.
Somewhere. And most of those are fan art.
Uh-huh.
It's me just loving the stories, being passionate about the narratives, and giving back to the community, to the world, what I was given by Tolkien with his writings.
Some of these are massive.
They are, yeah. Some of them are large canvases, 10 feet by 6 feet, 7 feet, giant, and kind of goes to that idea of legacy. As I'm getting older, I'm realizing, I don't have so many years left to make some paintings, and I now turn to, like, what are we going to see? What am I going to leave behind? And when I go to museums all the time. Like I visit I love pilgrimaging to museums, and when I walk into the museums, there's no Lord of the Rings there. There's no Middle Earth, right?
Not yet.
And it's not yet, right? That's not yet. So I'm figuring you got to make the paintings first before they can be shown there.
Yeah.
So I'm making paintings. Hopefully one day, maybe it's not me, maybe it's another artist that gets inspired. Maybe they pick up that banner and carry it forward. But someday we're going to walk in there, right, and you're going to see Gandalf in the Met, right? You're going to see Gandalf in the MoMA, right? How cool would that be?
I hope you get to see that day.
Yeah, well, I think we're probably going to see it in Los Angeles, the Lucas Narrative Art Museum. Right? We're going to see Obi-Wan Kenobi. We might see Han Solo in a museum, right, as art. Right. I can't wait. Yeah, it's opening, I think, next September, in less than a year now.
Oh, the design of it's incredible, too.
Yeah,
the building.
It's pretty funky. Yeah, oh yeah. Yes.
Well, before we wrap up here, can you let us know where people can find your work? Are there places that online or in person, if somebody wants, like at WorldCon, you had a show.
Yeah.
I got to go and look at a lot of your paintings, and that was fun. Are there places people can go to see?
I don't have a gallery. I have a very extensive website that I keep up to date. It's got over 1,000, maybe 2,000 pages in it of drawings and paintings and process videos. So my website is and I keep my social media, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Facebook all paralleled, updated with new drawings and paintings as I execute them. So those two areas, the social media and my website, I maintain and keep them updated. So.
Is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up?
No, I'd actually like to speak to the idea of a community. Brandon has given, and Emily have given generously of their time to make this place what it is. And I think we can take a little lesson, each one of us, and take back the community we experience here. Take it back to the small little circle of friends you might have, the little community wherever you might live, and keep that alive, keep that going, because that's where this spark came from. This spark of this convention, these spaces came from a small place that blossomed. And you can take that little bit of flame into your spaces and nurture it, let it grow, and let's see where it goes.
Oh, that's a great message. Yeah. Thank you, Donato. It's good to see you tonight.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Isaac.
Thanks.
Pleasure.
Hello, we're back, and we have Operation Literacy, who was one of our longtime partners, and Jennifer Jenkins is here to tell us about that organization. So one of the first things I wanted you to do is kind of give a brief history of Operation Literacy. Like, how did it start? How long ago? Who, what, where, when, why?
It's kind of a crazy story. So Operation Literacy began as a group of writers who wanted to give back to the community. We were a writers group, and there were only 5 of us, and we initially thought maybe we will sponsor a local high school and do sponsor a first chapter contest. And as we started thinking about the problem and thinking about what we wish we had had when we were teenagers, we decided we could do a little bit better than that. And so I went into UVU, and I had no credentials. And nobody had given me permission to be qualified to do this or anything like that. And
I think you were born with credentials.
No. I walked into their community ed department, and we didn't have a business license. We were a group of friends. And I said, I think you need us. And they're like, who are you? So anyway, we somehow convinced them to let us host the very first teen author boot camp. And this was which was held in 2011. And we had like 130 teens who came, and it was just, the rest is history. Every year that I remember driving home from that meeting with UVU initially, and they had said yes, and we were so not prepared for them to say yes, that they're like, okay, we'll send the paperwork over so that you can, we'll just need your business license and a few other things. And I was driving home going, we need a business license because quick. Yeah, we fell into the nonprofit work, and it took 1 year of doing this teen writers conference for us to realize that this was our calling. This is what we were supposed to do, and the rest is history. We put on conferences for teens for years, and now we have this evolution, which is StoryCon. It is a major convention that happens at the Salt Palace with conference tracks for teens, tweens, educators, and adults. And so it's crazy. And we have a lesser known keynote coming this year. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. His name's Brandon Sanderson.
I don't know if I've heard of him.
He's kind of awesome. But yeah, Brandon and Emily have been great, and Jane have been great supporters of what we've done. In addition to StoryCon, which, like I said, is this major convention where we scholarship 20% of the teens and tweens who come to this event from low-income populations, Title I schools, foster care systems, and other outreach programs to make sure that we have an equitable, accessible event. In addition to that, we have another flagship program that started right after COVID. It was as the conversation about the literacy crisis was increasing, and we realized just how big the problem was, and the fact that children, the percentage of children who own books in the home was so drastically low. Jennifer A. Nielsen is a New York Times bestselling author, and I developed the Book Drop program. And this is a program where we go into Title I schools and we bring amazing authors to provide an inspiring assembly, and then at the end of the assembly, we give every student in the school a free book. And since the birth of that program in 2021, we've been able to give, with the support of Lightweaver, over 50,000 books to children in Title I schools, which is pretty amazing. So that's those are the two big flagships. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah,
that's all.
You're not busy at all.
Not busy at all. So talking about the literacy crisis, what can you tell us about that?
How much time do we have?
We may need to do another whole meeting about that.
Well, honestly, I think people don't understand what's really happening in our country right now. So the NAEP is a national organization who gives report cards to different states, and nationwide, it's 34% of children are reading on grade level. Only 34%. In the state of Utah, 54% of our kids are reading below grade level. And what's crazy about that is when parents, in a recent Gallup poll, when parents have been asked, do you feel like your child is reading on grade level, 80% of parents say, yeah, they are. So there's a huge disconnect there, and it's something that we need to talk about more. The grade that the NAEP actually uses for these surveys is 4th grade, and the reason why 4th grade is because by 4th grade, children stop reading to learn. They stop learning to read and they start reading to learn. And so if a child isn't reading on grade level by 4th grade, they're 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. And the average high school dropout has a negative net fiscal impact contribution to society. So this is not just about a single child not being able to read. This is going to have national, fiscal, economic impact, and it will determine future success for children more than any other predictor, even socioeconomic class.
Wow.
So it's a huge problem, and we need to be talking more about it. And so we're just grateful for the opportunity to be in a position to really start addressing it.
Yeah, to do something about it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is.
So have you found, can you tell us some success stories from your flagship programs? Like,
Yeah, maybe I'll start with StoryCon. I think that people underestimate the importance of motivating children to read. We have the two components of literacy. We have the science of reading, think of phonics, decoding, like actually teaching children how to break down words and read. And then there's this other side of literacy, which is motivation. And this motivation side is really our bread and butter. Weber School District is a great example. So from Weber School District, they were one of our target school districts. There's a lot of need in Weber School District. We actually had, and a lot of these kids were scholarshiped, over 250 teenagers who came to StoryCon this in February from just this district. And we did a lot of work because we're always trying to measure impact and make sure that the programs that we're doing are actually making a difference, that we're not just killing ourselves for nothing. And in Weber School District, their district librarian measured library circulation for the 2 months before StoryCon. And in the 2 months following StoryCon, there was a 45% increase across the district in library circulation. When a child is the opportunity to get in front of an author, they are 80% more likely to read the book. And we're working with Intermountain Health right now on an in-depth research project to really measure that motivation piece. There was a student, his name is Tim, and I told you a story about him recently at an event we did. But when Tim was given the opportunity to work with authors, I was actually visiting this alternative high school. And I go into a school like Two Rivers High School, and these students have had second and third and fourth chances. They identify as screw-ups, as failures. Tim's reading level was sub-third grade, and he was a senior in high school. And I went into this class, and this is something very similar that happens at StoryCon, where we put author mentors in front of teenagers, and we say, your story matters, we want to help you tell it. And with Tim, I said, tell me what you know about characters. What makes a good character? And I'm sure all of you understand that a good character has to go through really hard things. And Tim had gone through some really hard things. Good characters don't have everything going well in their lives. And in fact, there is a direct correlation between trials in a character's life and reader satisfaction once the character arc has ended. And by the time I left that opportunity to sit down with Tim, he had actually started writing his story. And we know that there's so many emotional, I mean, Amy was just in here talking about this, the ability to project your problems into a fictitious character and watch them go through something hard and see them succeed. You really can't put a price on what that does for a child who's struggling. And I'm not crying. It's amazing, the transformation. And with StoryCon, what's really cool is these kids, we have multiple writing competitions and opportunities. If you're interested in writing film, a screenplay, or writing a song even, we have experts that are judging contests for these teens, and when they come to StoryCon, they get to. The Hale Center Theater, in fact, comes and acts out the plays that these teens have written. It's highly validating. One of my favorite moments at StoryCon is when we read passages from first chapters that have been submitted from kids. And they're in this vast room with over 1,000 people or more, and we start reading their words. And what happens, and it's my favorite part of this event, is I scan the audience, and once I can see this kid that realizes that their words are being read on an incredibly big stage, and that child is changed. Anyway, it's really meaningful. Sorry. Anyway, I could tell you a lot of book drop stories as well. The moment, I'll tell you one really quickly because I feel like I'm taking a long time. We were at Guadalupe School. And this is if you're not familiar with Guadalupe, I don't expect that most of you are. It is a Title I school in West Valley. It's like Rose Park, a very, very high need school. In fact, 97% of the population are Hispanic and English learners. We flew in Newbery Award winner Matt De La Pena to come and read his book, Last Stop on Market Street, and give a motivating assembly to these kids. Now, after the assembly, Matt was just amazing, and we were sitting in the car together. I was going to drive him straight to the airport. He came in from San Diego, and we were waiting for the mom drop-off brigade to leave the parking lot. And as we're sitting in the car, this little kid comes running out of the room, the school, to meet his abuela. And he said, Abuela, I got my first book, and the authors put his name in it. And it was so moving. And as I'm sitting next to Matt De La Pena, we're both crying. And I gave him his travel check for his flight. And he just ripped it up in my face. He said, this is the most important work that we can be doing right now, is paying attention and building the next generation of readers. And he's absolutely right. We have to motivate our readers so that they identify as readers, now more than ever. Anyway, I want to stop crying, so maybe different questions, please.
I think that's all the time we have, but
I'm sure it is.
no, it was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Part of the fun of this is that I get to show people how amazing people like Jennifer are and the cool things we can do with the resources we've been given. So thank you so much, Jen, for coming.
Can I just say really quickly, and I know we're over time, Lightweaver has made this possible for us. There's so many kids that have been impacted because of the generosity of the Sanderson fan base. All of you, and obviously these amazing, generous people. So thank you so much. Sorry.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
Right. Oh, are we on? We're on. Well, thank you, Jen and StoryCon. Doing really great work out there, so thank you. Well, we're here now with Caitlin Zupanik. Thank you for giving us of your time right now, especially here at the end. I'm going to let everybody know you have about half an hour left for your paintings. Caitlin, I have some questions for you. Can you tell us about your local gallery, Drawn to Dragons?
Yeah, of course. So about almost 4 years ago, it'll be 4 years in February, I did something that little me would have never thought I would have done, especially, junior high me. I opened up a gallery called Drawn to Dragons in Provo Town Center, and I get to paint and teach and just do all of the things that I absolutely love there. It's quite wonderful. I'm living the dream for sure.
Oh, that's really awesome. Do you highlight only your art, or is there other artists that are highlighted there? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I've highlighted a few artists prior, such as Howard and a couple others, Mostly it is my own work. A lot of my work is actually my own personal work. Unlike a lot of the other artists here, I haven't done a ton of published work, so most of it is either my illustrated anthology or my new tarot card deck, Draco Nouveau, that is almost completed.
Oh, wow, yeah. Tell us a little bit more about your tarot deck.
So I just barely got my first round of print proofs for it. It is looking amazing. I'm very excited. Hoping to get that done maybe in the next month or so. And Howard actually helped me coin the name Draco Nouveau Tarot.
Nice.
It's mainly dragons, lots of flowing lines, some unicorns, really fun stuff.
Dragons and unicorns. I'm on board.
Absolutely.
Are there any cool effects that you're doing with the deck? Are you adding, tell us more about the deck.
A lot of floral elements. Most of the pieces are done with graphite or digitally via Procreate, and then I'll color them. I'll color them digitally. But I will be oil painting about 20 or so for Esther's gallery and Howard and Esther's show coming up next year. So you'll be able to see those at the show as well.
That's excellent. How many pieces are there?
There is 84 pieces, including my 6 artist cards that I've included, and it follows mainly the Rider-Waite tarot card style.
Oh, wow. That is quite the project. How long have you been working on it?
Oh, it's been a dream since I was probably, 15. So to be able to bring that to completion now, I probably worked on the deck maybe since May. I did 20% of the deck, and then I've done a couple other few little pieces over the past year or two. So it's been nice to see that to completion.
Wow. Well, congratulations on almost being done with that project. It sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Let's see. Can you tell us about the illustrated anthology?
Yes, so all of the characters in my tarot card deck and all of the work for the most part that you see at my, where you saw at my booth, and at my gallery and on my website, drawntodragons.com, is actually part of my illustrated anthology. I have 2 other local authors helping me write the stories for that, and it's pretty much done as far as the writing goes. There's always a little bit more artwork that needs to be done, but that's coming to backer kit next year, more than likely May.
Okay. Well, excellent. That sounds awesome. So mark that on your calendars. So that sounds really great that you're also moving into doing books as well. Okay, what painting are you working on today?
I am working on Ugin, the spirit dragon. I must confess, I have not played Magic in over 10 years. Was a big fan in junior high, but I finally got back into it after we'd sold our entire Magic collection about 6 months ago.
Oh.
I'm back in for Avatar, so I had to pick one of my favorite dragons, which was Ugin the spirit dragon, just because I love all of the artwork for it.
Well, it's looking really fantastic here. I love it.
Thank you.
You've done a lot of dragon commissions.
Yes, I have.
How do you take a subject matter like dragons? Because they're really cool, and make it interesting for yourself each time.
I love to look at nature and the real world and what I see around me. So a lot of times if I'm playing, if I'm playing around with images and shapes such as like birds or dogs, whippets are one of my favorite animals to use as dragon inspiration. So I'll generally take that and mix it with like reptiles and other fun stuff to just kind of make it fun and interesting. Making weird griffin creatures or griffin dragons is another fun one. Just taking, different animals and seeing what type of a dragon I can make with it.
Oh, that's really great. And you also do pins too.
I do. I don't even want to think about how many I have, but it's probably about 26 enamel pins.
Wow.
Just this past year, I added another 18, I think, to my pin inventory, and they're quite wonderful.
They look really good. Like the design elements that you put into that, they look awesome.
Thank you.
Well, as we wrap up here, do you have anything that you'd like to talk about or say?
I absolutely love just creating, and I hope that all of you can find a way to create yourselves.
All right. Thank you, Caitlin.
Thanks, Isaac. And we're going to turn the time over. We have Harrington Center for the Arts here tonight with us, and this is the perfect event for you to be at because we have all of our artists up here on stage.
I know, I'm looking over and they're all my friends, which is awesome.
So it's about time that we had you here. We've been working with Harrington Center for the Arts for years, but they have another really big event that is always right during Nexus, and so we're just very, very happy to have you as part of our live stream and to share a little bit more about what you're doing. So can you share with everybody what is Harrington Center for the Arts?
Yeah, so Harrington Center for the Arts, we do more than just create great arts events. We really believe in cultivating belonging. And that happens through storytelling, through imagination. And as all of you know, art has this incredible power to unite communities, to heal individuals, and also to create real connection. And I'm gonna have my notes today because as you can see, I'm very pregnant and have wonderful pregnancy brain. But what makes our nonprofit a little bit different than maybe other organizations is we don't believe in building in isolation. We believe in collaboration. And that's been at the root of who we are from day one. So we work with schools, we work with cities, we work with other arts organizations, and we work with these incredible artists to create programs for our community that strengthen the entire arts ecosystem. And so our work spans, we do both visual arts, we have music, we have theater, and we've actually grown to a point that now we put on 25 arts events or festivals a year. We're currently in the middle of one of our arts festivals, and they bring in 50,000 people. We have over 700 volunteers that serve on our committees and help run these great programs. And then we directly support over 1,000 local artists every single year. And so that's what Harrington Center for the Arts does, and we're really, really proud of that. Another thing that is a part of those 25 events is they are either free or low cost, because we believe that arts should be something that every single child should be able to have access to, not just if you have the funds or the means to be able to participate in it. And so that's really important for us, that kids and youth are able to find their story and to use their imagination and creativity and not be held back by those barriers of limitations when it comes to financial means.
It's amazing, and what I love is how much the community is involved with what you're doing. I don't even know if I told everybody your name. Oh. I was like, I just kind of jumped into Terry. So this is Samarissa, and can you share a little bit about how Harrington started? Because it is family. There's a family connection to all of this.
Yeah. So my late father, Carl Bell, was actually a writer himself. He wrote plays and musicals, and there is this historic school in downtown American Fork called the Harrington School. Is built in 1903 and was actually the birthplace of public education west of the Mississippi. And a lot of people saw this historic building and they said, oh, it's past its usefulness, and he saw potential, and he said, no, this can be a place for our community. This can be a place of real connection. And so when he died from cancer in 2015, we actually founded our nonprofit in 2017 to continue his vision and to help the community connect in the arts in that way. So that's how Harrington Center for the Arts got started, and we really believe kind of if the community needs it, we'll do whatever we need to do to make it happen and get it done. And so what Utah has, as you have seen, is Utah has an incredible pool of artists that you really can't find anywhere else in the country. We work with people like the wonderful Howard Lyon and Esther and Brian Mark Taylor to design events that not only foster community, but they also help the next generation of artists. So we have Utah's largest local music festival, Fork Fest. We have Utah's biggest chalk art festival, Chalk It Up. We have Exploration of New Works, which is super, super fun. It is like Shark Tank, but for new musicals and new plays written by local playwrights. And it's a week-long festival where we present new musicals and new plays, and they get feedback from Broadway directors and producers and other writers and orchestrators, and it's so fun. Anyway, so we really focus on a lot of different disciplines, but we focus on where there's gaps. So anywhere that we say, hey, there is a gap, and in the past, people haven't wanted to do it because it's too hard, we take that as a challenge and we say, yeah, let's do it. Let's create it because we're not afraid of hard. So.
And the creativity from your team and how much you guys are doing is amazing. I wanted you to dive in a little bit because you're going to be doing something coming up here with Brandon and Emily pretty soon that's pretty exciting, that has to go into kind of some of those gaps that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Go dive into that, pull Emily into this, and let us know what you're doing.
So that Harrington School that we talked about, it is going to be what we call a kiln for the arts, where anyone from the community can come and use space. So there's classrooms for dance and for music and for creating those stories. But what we're really, really excited about is the future of the writing and the literacy that will be provided for Utah, and especially within the Harrington School. And we're not just designing it for writers, we're designing it with writers. And so that's what we're really excited about, is that Brandon and Emily will actually be helping us design those future writing rooms that the next generation can use which is so exciting, that really, it's like, can you imagine having these people as your mentors and helping guide you through this process and creating a room that they wish they could have had, right? These rooms are rooms for the future generations of writers, so.
Well, and when Samarissa came to us with this idea, I was thrilled because we love the arts in all forms, but sometimes the performative arts, the music, dance, theater, the writing kind of gets put aside because it's not performative in the same way. And it was really fun to see that in this community center we're going to include writers and validate that their art fits and is part of things. And I don't think you can separate these arts. All of the writing that people do is bettered by amazing illustrations. And I think that a lot of things inspire writing. And so we're really excited. Samarissa came to us and was like, okay, so if we want a room for kids to come and write, what do we need in it? And we talked about it and thought about it, and I'm really excited to see that and to be able to tell kids in the community, hey, you don't have a place to write? Go and use this space and find mentors and find others who are interested in learning about writing and be part of it. So we're really excited about that.
How can people get involved? I think I know the answer, but it would be great to kind of let our viewers know what things they can do.
I think we want people to know that at Harrington Center for the Arts, there is a place for everyone, that we don't just only work with professionals. We want to work with people that are just at the beginning, or just people who want to be involved and say, hey, this is my community. I want to create, I want to explore. And so if you go to harringtoncenter.org or follow us at Harrington Center, that's where you can connect with us. But truly, if you have a desire to be a part of what we're creating with Brandon and Emily, we would love to have you be a part of it. So.
That's amazing. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for coming down here after, I think, did it start yesterday, your event, right?
Yeah, it started yesterday, so we're in the middle of our 14-hour days. So I was outside running our Living Bethlehem and Christmas market experience all day today, and then did a quick change, and here I am.
And I had two of your volunteers that have sung with you before. that were on my floor today
Oh, they were?
volunteering with me. So there's just a great crossover with some of these people.
So awesome.
Well, thank you again for being here with us tonight.
Thank you so much. We love you.
And we're going to turn the time over to Isaac, over with Steve Argyle.
Okay. Well, thank you, Harrington Center for Fine Arts. And we're here now with Steve Argyle.
Hey there. How you doing?
I'm doing well. We were chatting about if he wanted to keep painting or not, but I think you said, I'm confident that it's there.
Well, confidence is a strong word. Except there's not a lot of time left, and what I really wanted to do is add a little goblin customer, but that's not a 10-minute job.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit about the painting, what it is?
Yeah, so I gave Brandon a handful of options, and he took the most serious option, but he made it silly. You know, I gave him like goblin grenade, and I thought, oh, he could have fun with that. But he chose Diabolic Tutor, which is one of my favorite cards. It's an incredibly powerful card in Magic. And so he said, okay, well, I'm gonna do a self-portrait for Steve, but he's a vampire. And also he's peddling Power 9, so he's like a dealer. But I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah. So you've done Diabolic Tutor before, though, haven't you? Didn't you do that for the Magic story that he wrote? Kind of?
Kind of. So I haven't done any official Diabolic Tutor, but in Brandon's cube, I painted a little Diabolic Tutor on the back of a Liliana of the Veil, and it was his character from Children of the Nameless that he wrote for Magic the Gathering, Miss Highwater, because she was such a delightful character.
Yeah. So you kind of did Diabolic Tutor, but I have seen it. It's a really lovely painting, and this is really awesome. It's like, you want to buy a card?
You want a card? I got a real Power 9 genuine artifact.
I wonder where he got them. Are they 3D printed?
Well, that would be fancy. I think that they're probably like old school photocopier, like a Xerox machine at a 7-Eleven.
And like Crayola markers.
Yeah, it's just got to be real dark. And he's like,
Yeah, they're real. Give me, just trust me on this. It's a great deal.
This is pretty fun. I say 3D printing. You love to 3D print things.
I do. There's too many hobbies in the world that I want to do. Because 3D printing, yes. My new one is CNC machine.
Oh no, did you get one?
My father-in-law built one. I'd been conspiring with him to buy one, and then I was like, there's a lot of things about woodworking and stuff that I don't actually know. If you'll help me figure out how to use it and help me with the stuff that a CNC machine isn't good at, then I'll finance the CNC machine, and I can do like the 3D modeling, and I can get that to work. And he got impatient, because I was like, I can't really use one until I'm done with this and this and this. And so he just started building one. And he's one of these guys who always does things right and overdoes them right. So it's 5 feet by 5 feet working area. Like, it'll carve anything 5 feet by 5 feet. And he was like, yeah, I was seeing a lot of them have like, an eighth of a horsepower or a quarter of a horsepower, and I wanted to make sure that it would work pretty well. So I put a 6 horsepower spindle in there. I figured that'll probably do it. It's like, yeah, that'll do it. Do you need to carve diamond, or like what kind of wood are you thinking we're gonna put in here?
That's hilarious that he does that and he overdoes it. Can he build me a time machine?
Probably.
Okay, let's talk about this later. That's really awesome. So what are you creating?
If you had a time machine, what would you use it for?
I probably would just want it something that's bigger on the inside. I don't know if I'd really want to go back in time, because I think there's just too many problems that I would cause. You know what I mean? I'd probably stop one war, but like blow up the world on accident.
Yeah, you kind of need a read-only time machine.
Yeah.
You can just go back and
view
The
things.
stuff's there, but you can't mess it up.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like I don't know, an invisible, not invisible, but a TARDIS, where you can see out, but they can't see in. So you just like sit in there in a really nice chair and watch time if you want to. You're like, I want to go see George Washington, and you can. I don't know, but I really don't want to mess up time. I don't want to get stuck somewhere where there's no indoor plumbing.
Yeah, yeah, and then you'd have like a lot less likelihood of being eaten by a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Right.
You know, like
That's gonna happen.
yeah, or getting the world's first disease that is long gone now, but was the worst thing ever. Yeah, I like this idea. Just a time window.
Yeah, a time window, because otherwise, there's two goals that I would really like to lick not a Picasso, a Van Gogh.
Did you say lick a Van Gogh?
Yeah. Have you ever seen them in real life? They're just so textured.
You'd hurt yourself.
It might cut my tongue.
Like they really are. They're sharp. I actually saw. I was at the Van Gogh Museum a week ago.
Oh,
yeah.
cool. You put in a good word for me?
I'm jet lagged because I got back from Europe on Monday. Yeah, I could totally be like, yeah, we're artists and we need to inspect the Van Goghs very carefully. We need to do some research.
We need to clean them. Well,
but yeah, for people who haven't seen Van Gogh's work, it's sculpture more than painting. It's really thick and sharp and
really great.
I didn't really care that much for Van Gogh until I saw it in person. Like
Yeah.
it's a different thing.
It is. It is. The second goal that's never going to happen is I'd like to ride a velociraptor. That just would be fun until it ends so poorly.
Yeah. Do you think it could ride a velociraptor? Aren't they about human size?
Well, in Jurassic World, Blue, the velociraptor, they have a good rapport, so maybe, I don't know. Maybe they'd let me.
There's one way to find out. We need
Yeah,
to Jurassic
let's go
Park
do
this
it.
thing.
Well, I think we need to build the time machine. You can come with me.
To go get the velociraptor.
Yeah, on an excellent adventure. We'll get the velociraptor.
I love this.
And
I'm excited to be a part of it.
And then we'll see if Steven Spielberg somehow wants to get involved.
He can finance it,
Yeah,
right?
This is work. Okay, this is great. It must be really late, and you're the last interview. Let's get back into some. Picture book. Tell us about the picture book work that you're doing.
I am so excited that I can finally talk about it because we talked about this. It was like a year and a half ago that we started.
Maybe even 2 years.
Maybe even 2 years, and it's been very hard telling everybody that I know, like, what are you working on right now? Are you doing some Magic the Gathering stuff? No. Are you doing like Star Wars stuff? No. What about this game? What about this book? What about this? What are you working on? No. So then you're unemployed? No. I'm working on something. Oh, okay. Well, what? It's a thing. It's real. It's real. It's in Canada. And now I can finally say I'm working on the coolest project for Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah. So if you don't know, he's illustrating Wander Sail for our picture book, and we'll be starting to release them. Not release them, but we'll release the event for them in March.
Deadline's coming.
Deadlines are coming, yes. But thank you for all your great work on that. Where are we at on time? Okay, we're going to wrap this up. Sorry that we talked about silly things mostly. We'll end this on...
I prefer it.
Why have you been involved in this charity event for so many years?
I would like to high road it and say because I care very deeply about all of these things. But the truth is I like painting with Howard. And anytime he would ask me to go paint, I don't care what the reason is. Don't get me wrong, I am glad that this is going to amazing charity. I love Lightweaver. I donate myself extra stuff every year, but I would paint just because Howard said, let's go paint.
Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, Howard, I would too. Where's Howard? There he is. Well, thank you, Steve, for painting here for so many years and the awesome things that you're doing both for Dragonsteel and Lightweaver. We really love you, and we love all of you artists. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to turn the time back over to Emily and Jane.
Thank you, all of you, for being here with us. And those of you who are watching from home, it wouldn't make any sense without all of you. So we're excited to be here. And tired. You can tell Isaac's tired because he's getting silly. I just want to have Jane kind of explain the process of where all of this stuff ends up and how it benefits Lightweaver. So
Yeah, so this started on the Halloween live stream where Brandon drew the sketches, as you've probably seen, or what Brandon explained. So kind of our next step is we're going to carefully transport these down to American Fork. We got to get them out of here, and we're going to take them to Howard. He will photograph them for us, and we'll get these up on our website under the auction tab. And you'll be able to check out and just be able to see what these paintings look like. The auction for these will run until the end of, it's midnight Mountain Standard Time, but the end of the day on Brandon's birthday, December 19th. So we're gonna let people have a little more time to bid on them, especially since we used to just do auctions just at the convention. But when we're painting these, at the live stream, it's nice to give people a little bit of time to see them and take some time to bid on them. So we will close this out on the 19th, and that will kind of end our yearly fundraising. We really just try to hit fundraising basically for 1 month of the year. There's little side things that we do. But like I said earlier, we've already raised $110,000 for charity. This is the highest amount we have ever done. We started off with being excited about 10,000, 20,000. We had a wild jump, wild jump the last couple of years. 2023 was about $35,000, and the last 2 years, this one being our biggest year, we've done over 100,000. So I'm excited to see where these end at, and it's just because of the fans' involvement. It's you guys. This is Brandon and Emily's foundation, and we've been donating and finding places that we want to partner with, and it's because of fans like you that have been involved that have made this grow and has made it so that more people can be affected. And we will be distributing and sharing everything that you donated to all of these amazing partner charities that you saw up here today. And so we thank you for being here. We thank you for the artists. Their commitment to Lightweaver is amazing. And for all of our partners that came in tonight, it was great to have them on stage. I know it's late, it's the end of the convention, but we just want to say thank you for everybody.
I want to make sure we also thank our backstage team, our
Oh my
volunteers and our employees, Cornerstone, because Martian, all kinds of people that you probably don't see very much, but they've been working really hard to make this all happen. So
the people that we have involved I walk away from this convention every year there's just a good feeling of community.
Yeah.
It makes me want to cry about it, but the people here that have been, it's you guys, it's the volunteers, it's everybody that's here. It's a great community, so we appreciate everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.